At least another year.
You mean you're not already an undead ghoul?
No, not yet.
Well, Hermit,
Oh, man.
customarily, since you're new, uh, tell us
It
a little
didn't
bit
do it.
about yourself.
Oh, okay.
Yep, you're in the hot seat.
Getting older, aging, decrepifying. So I'm returning to old MMOs that used to bring me joy to try and squeeze out the last bits of joy before I fade away. No, I played this game. This was my first MMO. This is the game that I've always returned to play. Probably will be for a long time. And what am I?
What brought you to the game originally?
35. I remember what it. Oh, it was 2009. I just graduated high school, and I was going through uh, just YouTube, and I saw trailer number 2. It starts with the squig getting inside, the squig herder getting inside and running through the gates and stuff like that, and then throwing the choppa against the walls. So I saw the trailer, and I was like, "Oh, that looks really cool." And they had the 7-day free trial back then. I tried it out. I tried that out in like September of 2009, and I'm like, "Oh, this is really cool." And then my mom said I couldn't play until I finished finals because it was my first semester of college. So I officially started playing Warhammer Online December 12th, 2009 at 10:30 in the morning because that's when I got home for my last final that I almost slept through. And the game was it was my first MMO, first like online game that wasn't just like a shooter or something like that. Actual, at least what I consider real games, which I understand might be inflammatory to some people, because I consider RPGs real games over other game types.
No, RPGs are real games.
Yeah, I'm saying FPS really aren't.
Oh,
Something with a little bit of story and lore to it.
well, I always liked Doom as an FPS. That was kind of like the OG. But uh, I agree. On average, I agree with you. A lot of FPS games are just kind of, they're overly repetitive. But
Yeah, I don't like repetitive. I like doing my same dungeon over and over in this game.
it's different. It's different repetitive.
Yep. It's a little bit different. Sometimes you get a tank that doesn't know how to tank in PvE, and then you gotta sit there for an extra hour and a half.
Or 3 hours, depending on what dungeon you get into.
Yeah. Or you bring tanks and one healer to a gunbat, and it takes 4 hours.
Long as
Bam, thank you for the follow.
Long as Gumbat I've been in has been was a 5 hour run, and I was the only one that knew the dungeon, and I had to explain it to everybody. We got through it, and everybody was worried I was gonna bail on them. Like, no, you guys are new, you've never done it, and I stuck with them till they got it done.
Was that before or after the changes? Was that
It
more
was
recent or
before
like
the
long ago?
changes. I haven't done it since the changes. I actually have to make a new dungeon guide video to show the updated changes.
It's actually pretty great. I know Tosh isn't much for PvE, but the changes actually make it more interesting.
And for what it's worth, the Bastion Stair has always been my favorite of the Return of the RLR, or Warhammer Dungeons, I should say. I've always liked the ambiance, the atmosphere, and just the way it's all set up. But you know, that's a
Over
anecdotal
Bloodrot
note.
over Bloodrot Enclave even.
Blood Red Enclave, you say?
Blood Rot Enclave. It's the second part of B&B. It's not currently in the game.
Oh, well. Well, Bastion. Bastion. Oh, right. Right. No, Bastion Stare is still my favorite.
Okay.
I like the other ones. It's not, the only one I don't like is Gunbad.
I'm actually excited. I heard they were talking about doing to Bastion Stair what they've done with Gunbad. So you actually have a reason to do. I think it's what, like 3 bosses we just skip now because there's no reason to do them. They don't like drop anything worthwhile. And I don't know, I'm excited to see changes come to Bastion Stair because some of those fights were interesting.
Well, they've always had intentions of doing a rework to the dungeons, and eventually the second half of like Blood, the Burrow and stuff, those will come back. They always had intentions of bringing them back. It just people never paid attention. Some many months back during one of my podcasts, they had touched on that fact. Just people didn't pay attention to it. I had the devs on my show.
I always liked it. It did, like, BB now feels really short since technically half the dungeon is not there. Because B and B used to be like one fed into the other because you used to get a key from the final boss to open the gate to Bloodrot Enclave. Although, oh man, I had so many issues with that in live where somebody would disconnect or something like that, and then the key wouldn't be in their inventory or something, so we just couldn't do the second half of the dungeon. It was rough. Also, you got your pity gear quests. It's a nice change. Instead of running the dungeon 15, 16 times just because you get unlucky with drops, you now don't have to run a single dungeon more than 4 times to get a full set.
I never ran them on live, so I don't know how the mechanic was. And on this server, I haven't been outside of like doing Bastion Stairs on my Slayer. I don't know, 6, 7 years ago,
Oh,
whatever it
here we
was.
go with the dogs.
I haven't been in the dungeon.
It's Bastion Stair is off spec gear, so unless you actually want your off spec stuff, you don't really need to do Bastion Stair.
Well,
Heretic.
in my case, it's a main spec since I'm DPS on my AM, because the Invader gear, which is what I'm at, for me, it's if I go for it on the AM at the gear vendor, it's a healing set, and I need a DPS set.
I tell
Yeah.
everybody. I tell everybody who will listen that the Bastion, the Bloodlord weapons, I think for almost every class are worth having.
So the Bloodlord weapon is best in slot. I haven't checked it across all classes, but for a shaman, the Bloodlord is best in slot, but only for PvE DPS. Best in slot for PvP DPS is the Dark Promise.
Well, I would expect that though.
Yeah.
With the Dark Promise being the newest set, and I did think, when the Lost Veil was open on Age of Reckoning, I thought the Dark Promise uh, weapons were better, but the Bloodlord weapons are still worth getting. And anymore that it's really not that hard to run. It's not that hard at all to run the Bastion Stair and rack up enough influence and all that. The dungeons have been toned down a bit over time. I remember when you had, when Gunbad first came out, you had to have people in full sov just to survive, man. To get gear for people who needed red eye, everybody else had to be in full sov. especially the big giant squiggy in the middle. I think he's in the bottom of the middle.
Yeah, hard to
Uh,
feed.
yeah, that guy was. It that guy was tough. They did tone him down after a while, but oh man. So what's the main topic, Todd?
It's actually with this one, it's just the end of the year recap, and at this point, anybody can bring any topic to the table they want to, and it's just kind of a recap of people's thoughts on all the things that's gone on over the year. Since this is the last podcast of the year, because the next podcast won't be till like middle of January. So, Hermit, since you're the new guy, I know you had some stuff you wanted to bring to the table, so you lead.
Okay, well, I made a joke, but it's only partially a joke. I think streamers should really get better preferential treatment.
Is that the joke?
Yeah, let's call it 80-40 a joke.
Okay.
And how do you figure that? Explain that. And now you got me curious as to what you're
The other
referring
day, I
to.
was kicked from a warband from auto ban for too many healers on my DPS shaman, and then I tried joining the other open warband and got kicked for too many too many DPS.
Ain't auto ban great? We had this discussion a couple podcasts back. But let me ask you a question. When you say streamers should get some sort of preferential treatment, in exactly in regard to what?
I think I should be
I mean,
mailed gold more often.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I think I should be mailed gold more often.
Gold?
Yeah.
By
Just anybody and everybody.
you're making this shit up, man.
Language I don't
It was
No,
really
understand.
great. When I begged for gold to gamble on Pandemonium, people sent me gold, and I haven't gotten any gold since, and it makes me sad.
sorry, Toth. I thought you had last time you had your filters off. So
I had filters off last time. I don't have it off this time
okay, all right.
because one of my sponsors is paying attention.
Um,
Wait, this person
well,
says they think we should buff shamans, and I'm down for that. As somebody who plays a shaman,
It,
I don't
it,
have
okay.
a dog in this fight, so I think
Okay.
they're correct.
Okay, Hermit, ignore Van in the stream. Just ignore him.
Okay.
Ignore Van.
wait.
They brought up a
Let's
really good point, though. That's the problem.
Yeah.
we'll come back to that. We'll come back to that. I want to talk about this streamer stuff a little bit more
Yeah, go
because
for it.
uh,
I have a lot of
streamers.
questions, but go ahead.
Well, streamers getting preferential treatment of any kind. Uh,
Would be a
it's
bad
never going to
idea.
happen. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. The only kind of, I mean, typically, the only kind of treatment that streamers get is, you know, they rack up hate points from different groups on the server because they don't like the way you stream. They don't like the fact you stream. They don't want you streaming when they're on. They don't want you in their warband because you're streaming. They don't even want you in the same damn zone. There, I did it again. I'm sorry. It's it's
Oh, no cursing?
it's not something. Yeah, it's not
Gotcha.
something that um, it's not something that tends to be streaming is not something that tends to be rewarded by the groups, the
Really?
individuals who play, the individual, like the smaller scale guys and all the solo players and the people in the small scale guilds, they appreciate it for the most part. That's where most of my viewers have always come from, from just the loose fraternity that's out there. But the so-called quote organized guilds, they
Yeah,
don't
that
they don't want you around, man. They don't want you around. And
I haven't had a single, any, moment of that since playing. Granted, I haven't been streaming that long on the game, only since, the very beginning of October, but I haven't experienced that at all.
Yeah, but
There,
are you running with an organized guild? Or are you just out there?
Goblin Workers Union is who I play with, pretty much exclusively.
Never heard of
Goblin
it.
Workers Union, Entropy and Chaos, which Entropy and Chaos isn't really there,
that the
but it's
reason
Agony and a couple others. I
Yeah, the
can't remember
reason
all
for
of them.
that
Oh,
is
Renaissance,
because
not
the reason for
Renaissance.
that is because
I
Entropy
don't
and
know.
Chaos. I'm in that guild too. They don't mind streamers, and Gobbler's Worker Union has had like 2 or 3 streamers in their guild. They don't really care. Tribergs is in that guild, but there's a number of guilds that are a zero tolerance to streamers. I mean, they will, if they find out you even stream, they'll eject you from the guild altogether.
Which guild is this?
There is a number of them. Bitterstone has a zero tolerance to streamers.
I don't even know who that guild is. I
Bitterstone
don't know if I've ever
Thunderers.
even seen anybody. Yeah. Is this maybe an order issue?
It's not just Order. There's a number of guilds on Destro that they do not like streamers.
Because I keep getting invited to like discords and stuff. Like it was, well, granted, one of them was the like warband pug one because I was leading pugs for a while.
Yeah,
Oh,
Lesty and them do not like streamer. That was something I was told flat out when I joined the guild from the word jump, is that I would not be allowed in any of the guild war bands because I streamed.
Seems
yeah,
weird, but okay.
Benny has lightened up on that. When I first started with them, they didn't. They took a hard line on it. They didn't want me in the war band if I was going to stream. They've lightened up on it. I was able to run with them the other day, and I was streaming the whole time, and nobody ever said a word. And I just want to actually, since I brought that up, um, I just want to do a quick shout out. I was so impressed running in that Benny Tylak's warband the other day with the way the way the whole thing was conducted, as opposed to the way they conducted themselves a year ago. And I swear, man, it was a year ago when you ran in one of their war bands. It was a black hole of anger and depression. And now they're actually having fun. And I don't know who gets the credit for that, but it's actually a fun group to run around with. So uh, there, I gave my but I was happy to see it. That's all.
That's how you get people to do it more than once, not make it awful.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
There used to be a streamer that would play on this game. He quit the game several months ago, but he would stream and he was playing the game since like January all the way till like I want to say July as a streamer. But then as he started to become known as a streamer, he got basically blackballed from any open warband on Destro, where he was being told uh, in game live that he would have to turn off his stream if he wanted to run with the warbands. He finally quit the game because he couldn't find a warband to play with unless he formed his own warband. And then he was then told that he couldn't follow the other organized warbands on Destro. He then tried to roll and play on Order. He had the same problem on Order, so he quit the game.
Yeah, that's just
I Go ahead.
bad for the game overall. People want to try and do that.
Yep.
I mean, it is I will say that it is a two-way street. For example, Tosh is talking about Destro, and when I stream on the Destro side, I play my Witch Elf
One of
because,
those.
yeah, but one of the I mean, I like the class. I always have. I've had a lot of fun with it. But one of the reasons I stream at my Witch Elf as opposed to when I play my Blackguard, because when I play my Blackguard, I'm in organized groups. When I'm on my Witch Elf, I'm not, and nobody cares. I run around most of the time by myself, And every now and then I'll follow a group here or there or whatever, but nobody really cares because I'm not taking up their space, right? So, but I mean, and Tosh is right when he's talking what he was talking about. But I think that, you can work if you know a group has a real problem with it. You can cut them a little slack. I think a lot of people on the server take it way too far with their objection to people streaming, but um, a lot of people forget that this is a game, and games are meant to be fun. And if they're no fun, there's no point in playing.
Yeah.
I got into a scenario here. It's 4v2. Yay.
Oh, don't get me started on scenarios.
Well, we got to talk about something. So
I think my stream might actually be tired of me talking about
Let's talk
scenarios.
about.
Scenarios are my favorite part of the game, but currently I can't find enjoyment in them.
I think until they honestly get roll out the actual fixes for it, no one's gonna enjoy it. I think it's at the point where most people avoid it. The only ones that do go into it is the sweat lords.
Although I did see I was actually invited to it. There's in the Pug Warband Discord, they're trying to get people together to do the ranked scenarios, which I know are more dead than the regular version.
It's so dead the entire cast and crew of ER couldn't resuscitate it.
well, ranked solo had its moments. I mean, it could be, it could be very competitive and very fun. But then again, uh, people just took it way too seriously.
I think ranked solo probably stands a better shot than ranked group at being a big thing, or at least for what I've seen of the community so far.
Ranked group is actually easier to create though and form up than ranked solo is. Only because in ranked group you can have all you need is 12 people or 12 people from a guild, and then you can have basically guild v guild in a ranked group. Whereas in a ranked solo you can't do that, or not as easy, I should say.
Oh,
Since ranked is mixed teams, you don't need to have like order versus destro. You could technically have 12 destro players, all of them. You create two 6-man groups in one guild. Everybody queue up, and you can have guild v guild in a ranked group.
Yeah.
Yep, because it's mixed teams. It's not order versus destro.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
I thought that was fun. I remember the first time I logged in ranked on my witch elf, and I was with, and I zoned in standing next to a white lion, and what? Okay, wait. But I actually thought that that whole thing was kind of fun, where they would balance the teams by pulling from both sides. I know a lot of people didn't like it,
Hate it.
and but I don't know. I thought it was fun.
You feel strongly about the faction war staying
I do.
front and center?
I do.
I can understand that.
If there's no good guy or bad guy, then there's no point. Then it's
Yeah, I know.
then
But
in a
you're the
big,
one playing the bad guys.
well, the bad guy is always the opposite side of whoever you are. It doesn't matter, if you play order or destro. The bad guy is always opposite of you. So if there is no bad guy or a good guy, if it's just people, then there's no point. Then
Except for
there's no immersion. There's no lore. There's no immersion. There's no story. It's just a battle royale again. It goes back to it turns into just another shooter.
except for Van Buren, he's always the bad guy, no matter what. Sorry.
Well, in the grand scheme of things, order in on itself is bad just as much as destro is evil at its core. if you go by the lore.
I was looking through the forums. Well, wait a minute. I'm sorry, Todd. Let me ask you. You made a comment a little bit ago about scenario changes. Is that, can we infer from that that there actually are scenario changes in the works or being
Yeah, they've
planned? Or
already tested it. They've had tests of it.
On the PTS server, yes.
I have to ask Techno about that.
Do we
See what
know
he
if there's like
knows.
a general time frame for those?
Not that I'm aware
Like,
of.
Not that's
oh,
been
okay.
announced. No,
Okay.
I think they've ran 3 tests on the PTS server with it. The
Nice.
last one I want to say was 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
and I was supposed to join in and help with it, and then I didn't. Um, so yeah.
Well, I mean, I hope they pull it off. And the issue I have is that it seems to be the history of the server that when they break something, and let's just for the sake of my point, let's all agree that the scenario system was broken from its glory days. You don't have to agree. I'm just saying, just for the sake of my point, let's accept that for a moment. The scenario system is broken. Okay, it's been my experience in the history of the server that when they go to fix something that was broken, the first thing they do is break it more. And then, and then they get around to, oh, well, okay, and so that's my fear when you talk about implementing a scenario change.
I think that's more the nature of the beast of them trying to figure out how exactly the different stuff interacts. Or are you saying over tuning for balancing?
I'm sorry, were you talking to me?
Yeah.
Okay,
What am I
I'm
talking
gonna have to
guys?
ask you. Well, no,
Well, you're saying they break something more. Do you mean like they over tune and then dial it back, or are you talking more
yeah, I'll give you a perfect.
just
I'll
okay?
give you a perfect. My son came in. He's my nurse since I got home from the hospital. He just came in to check on me. So I was trying to listen to you and him at the same time, and
Oh,
but um, but some years ago there was a lot of talk on the server about guard mechanics for tanks, and a lot of people were uh, upset that they thought there were too many two-hand players for two-hand tanks on the server. They wanted more, people to run in sword and shield. And there was a lot of debate in game and out. You'd be in the game playing. I would be on my swordmaster in two-hand spec. And this is the truth. Toph knows this to be true. I went to a fort once in two-hand spec, and I actually had a guy seriously tell me that if we lost this fort, it would be all my fault because I was playing in two-hand spec. That's how heated the debate was at the time about trying to come up with some way to encourage more people to switch to sword and shield all the time. Okay, well, the solution they came up with was to take the guard ability and cut it in half. If you were playing in sword and shield, you did regular guard mitigation. If you in two hand, you only mitigated 50%. I thought that was a horrible fracking
so
idea.
like 20, you only take 25% of the damage of your guard target.
Yeah,
Okay, I just
and
wanted to make sure I understood what you were saying.
I thought that was I just thought that was a horrible solution, a horrible attempt at a solution, and it just punished people who wanted to play the game in a particular spec that was designed into the game for them to play. Right? It's kind of like it would be kind of like going to Burger King and seeing a burger and a fish sandwich, but if you order the fish sandwich, they only gave you half of it because they didn't really want you to eat the fish sandwich. I mean, so why is it up there? It's the same with running a two-hand spec. Why was it put into the game if they didn't want people to run it? So why punish people just for doing something that the game allows them to do? And that was the
So I
debate that came after. I'm almost done. That was the debate
oh
that
sorry.
came,
Okay.
after they put that change in for the 50% guard mitigation reduction. That was the debate that came after. Why are you doing this? And so eventually they reset it and started down a whole nother path. And just sort of, and they've been like messing with the numbers ever since that, um, for guard damage and stuff like that. Okay. Your rebuttal, please.
I could actually see a different form of guard for two-handers, but something that's optional. Like maybe because I actually play my chosen two-hander as a actual DPS, and I enjoy him. He's a little bit tankier as a DPS, but I also run focus offense and the Bloodlord weapon, so I do decent DPS, but I am significantly squishier than most chosen should be. I could understand maybe a 25% guard, but maybe it gives you and your guarded target some sort of buff. But it would need to be something that's optional, not like a forced thing like that. Because I know some people that actually tank as two-hander Black Orcs, and because they're in great gear, they compare to Black Orcs of slightly less gear.
Well, Swordmaster says, my Swordmaster is around rank 90. So I have a little bit of experience
Yeah.
in playing a Swordmaster. And for the vast majority of that time, I play two-hand, and I've always found it viable. I've always found it more fun, but that's a whole other issue, I guess. But I've always found it viable. And you bring up the Chosen. I think the Chosen's the same way. A good two-hand Chosen, when you're out on the battlefield, a good two-hand Chosen in that spec is a fracking nightmare. You know, because they can put out a lot of damage. And
Relative.
say again.
Relative, a lot of damage. Relative.
To
It's a lot of single target damage. It's not a lot of AoE.
yeah. Okay,
Relative damage.
Okay. Um, yeah. Okay, yeah, that's true. And the same's true with the two-hand Swordmaster. A lot of it's a single target. And but I lost my train of thought. But I don't. Okay, I think those specs are not just viable; they're worthy. And here's the point I was going to make. A lot of times when I was playing my Swordmaster, I would get grief for it in scenarios, and it's because other players on other classes didn't really know or understand the benefits that a two-hand Swordmaster, or on the opposite side, because I have a Chosen too, a two-hand Chosen could bring. They didn't really understand they understood the limitations, sure enough, right? But they didn't really understand the benefits if they were properly supported. And you know, when you have some proper support, you can on either of those two classes, Swordmaster or Chosen, you can rack up some severe damage, man. I mean, I've got a video on my YouTube page. I was in a city and did over 3 million damage single target Swordmaster.
Again, relative.
So I think there is a lot of hate for off-spec, like off-spec healer, off-spec tank. And the way I enjoy playing my main the most is as a DPS shaman. I know Toth plays his DPS archmage quite a bit also. And I'll go into scenarios and people are like, "Oh, great, another wasted healer." And they're like, "You're not even a real DPS." And then I'll go to out damage them, out kill them, and I'll be like, oh, that's crazy. You're not a real DPS either. And like, hey, an off-spec tank. So my understanding of going a two-hander tank is the trade-off is you deal less DPS, but you should survive longer. That the DPS makes up for that change. So you are fighting somebody as a normal DPS, you die sooner, but you have more DPS. Whereas the damage spec tank, you survive longer, so over a longer period of time, your damage should be equivalent. Now, whether the balancing gets to that exactly, that's another matter, but that at least that's my understanding of what a DPS or a damage spec tank is supposed to be.
Wait, Van Bunen said if focus offense gave 33% damage buff, then it would be worth it. I thought that's exactly what it gave. Didn't it used to give 33%?
I think it's 25. I can actually tell you in just a second. I can just switch over to my chosen.
At one time, it was 33. Because I ran that spec in some cities with Salt Factory.
Focused offense, 15% more damage. Oh, jeez, it's way worse than I thought.
That's okay.
And all enemy monsters hit you 15% less, but your armor is reduced by 33%.
Maybe that's what I was thinking of. The armor reduction. Well,
I could see focused
man.
offense. I could see focused offense, the damage of it going up a little bit more. Don't think a whole lot would change. I think they would still be less damage than a normal damage, but if their survivability is more than a normal damage, then maybe it could be off. It would offset the difference.
Well, I see. I could be wrong, but I seem to remember at one time focused offense upping your damage a lot more than 15%.
Yeah, I believe it used to be higher.
Yeah.
Only good for Black Orc. I see a lot of people saying that Black Orc is the only good two-handed tank on Destro. Which seems crazy to me because the entire time I played this game, the best two-handed tank was always Blackguard.
Honestly, I've seen both. I think it just people are too quick to judge, and they've got this very narrow-minded viewpoint that they think, oh well, it's can only be this. I think it boils down to the person playing it that makes it good.
I still have this pressure bandage on my arm so that my artery doesn't erupt. That thing hurts. Well, I had somebody in my stream the other night ask me about the current state of the game. Toth, I think you were there. I don't know. I think you were there. Yeah. So we can go around the horn, as they say on ESPN, with that one. And the answer I gave is that I thought the current state of the game was pretty good. That there are some nitpicks here, like scenarios, there's some nitpicks here, some nitpicks there. But there's no one single overwhelming fault that would lead me to want to stop playing or, want to be angry or any of that stuff. I think overall the game's in pretty good shape. and they just, there's just some little things that need to be done. Like another one that bugs me is Land of the Dead. Um, I think Land of the Dead is just horribly underutilized potential, wasted potential. But we could put that off to some other time. But that was my opinion. And Tosh has been here just as long as I have. Tosh, so what do you guys think?
I'll let everyone else go because I completely disagree with you. But go ahead.
Well, my understanding, Land of the Dead is still work in progress, like heavily work in progress. Believe, at least from what I've heard, that they're working on like rebuilding the PQs because they largely have to rebuild a lot of that from scratch. Like they have the like structure for it, but they have to untangle code and stuff like that for it. Like because it's not just the PQs, because you had all the PQs. Because if you remember Land of the Dead, there were the mini dungeons that had a single boss that you had to get the keystones or the runes from successfully completing 3 public quests. And you completed the 3 public quests to get the specific runes. If you waited too long after you completed the quest, one of the runes would degrade. You'd have to go redo it. Then you'd have a specific combination of the runes from the public quests to go into the mini like single boss dungeons. So you've got those. Then you have the wandering world bosses, the giant skeletons that walked around. You also had Tomb of the Vulture Lord, and then you had the champions outside the Tomb of the Vulture Lord that just patrolled around the area, and then you had the giant statue that would come to life after successfully completing Tomb of the Vulture Lord. That then became a massive world boss with basically infinite scaling based on the number of players that showed up. So like there was a lot of stuff in Land of the Dead that there's just tons of stuff that they would have to do. So I
Well,
think
but
it
my
is underutilized at the moment, but that's just
yeah.
because it's what at least from my understanding, it's what they're working on is like the next big-ish thing.
Well, Land of the Dead is such a huge area, and when it was live on Age of Reckoning, it was accessible most of the time, and that's one of the key factors it's missing here. Is it's on this schedule, and for the whole rest of the, once every 8 days or something they open it up, and
Once
for
every
the rest of the
7,
time,
but yes.
yeah, it just sits there. But on Age of Reckoning, you could go there and just in small groups, even solo. I mean, and just have a blast because you could go, you could
It
find
wasn't
the
locked.
groups. Yeah, you could find the groups that were going to the Tomb of the Vulture Lord or whatever, and mess with those guys. I mean, I had a blast, and now it's just I don't even bother to go right now anymore because it's just a giant Zerg fest.
Yeah, it's
And
just like it's sort of, from my understanding, I haven't done it personally. It's sort of like Alterac Valley, right? Where you're supposed to push the active point and then push to the
yeah,
next one or fall
Yes.
back to the previous.
You have to maintain the connection in order to hold it, but yes.
that's the basic
I
system. Yeah.
I could see it maybe happening more often in this current iteration, but I can also understand people not wanting to just do that because it is sort of what is done in the RVR leagues with. Although it sounds like there's probably a little bit more mechanical stuff to it than people drawing the line between the 2 war camps and just sitting on that line, never straying it, never doing battle objectives, never sieging. I don't know. I don't think I have like a real strong opinion on it until I actually get to go and experience it myself. But at least to me it sounds interesting.
Well, there's just so much you could do with that map in that area. Now, and I concede your point about the fact that the PQs have to be reworked, and Tomb of the Vulture Lord will be a huge draw if they ever get that done. I mean, I think it will. If they ever open up Tomb of the Vulture Lord, that will be a huge draw for the player base at large. Probably a lot of people who haven't been playing in a while would come back just to do that. I don't know that, but it just seems logical. But as it is, it just kind of sits there and gathers mold. And I've talked about before the whole concept of variety being the spice of life. If you want to keep something going and keep a healthy lifespan on it and energy levels and all that stuff, you got to have different stuff to do. And by different stuff to do, I don't mean just same things over and over and over again. That some of them happen to be different. I mean, you need to add some variety into the game, and you could do that with Tomb of the Vulture Lord. I would think rather easily, but nobody, the gods above don't listen to me anymore. So
I think it would be a big draw, but I can't imagine. So, from my understanding, they're working on a tier 3 thing that was announced. I think that was announced with the Halloween thing, or maybe sooner than that. That they're working on a new tier 3 dungeon that's, I think, supposed to be before Gunbad. That's supposed to sort of bridge the gap between Sekellum sewers and Gunbad.
Yes.
I don't know exactly where it's gonna fall, but just somewhere between those two. So I can't imagine it'll happen before then. I think that's probably the next big dungeon thing they're doing, but maybe after that, Tovel. Because I know Tovel was... I never got to do all of Tovel. I only ever got to see the first 2 bosses when I ran, basically as a courtesy to me, from the guild Feared when the game was still active.
I know this much I can tell you. The first couple of bosses in Tomb of the Vulture Lord have been done. I don't know how much further into it they've managed to do, but I know what I can tell you from the powers that be that have told me that they have done. They have got the first couple of bosses completed.
yeah, Techno told me that the other day. Well, a couple weeks ago. Um, he was running around down there. But anyway,
I don't know, and the stuff they've done with the dungeons, I think them going back through and like making sure there's fun mechanics in the dungeons is, as much as it's not as big a draw to new people, I think it's a better retention mechanic. It like, I understand retention mechanic isn't the right word because retention mechanic is ooh, boogeyman sort of deal, but I think them going through and making sure the dungeons that we already have are fun and worth spending time repeating more than once is a bigger net benefit than getting a new dungeon in as soon as possible. A new old dungeon in as soon as possible. You know what I mean.
And to answer the DM, yes, there's also PvP stuff being worked on. It's just they're focused on PvE stuff too at the moment.
and Van Buny and Gunbad was toned down a bit. We talked about that a little while ago, but Gunbad when it first came out was ridiculous
They
on how
actually
hard.
they actually amped it back up a bit when they changed it.
Yeah, I heard that, but I haven't had to run Gunbad in a while, so.
Are you talking like since the them reinstituting the mechanics for the bosses, or are you talking about like old Gunbad?
I thought about
Since they changed it and moved bosses around, they've changed how some of it operates compared to what it was.
Yeah. So I haven't done the hard mode stuff yet, but the other stuff. So there's one boss that people had a problem with, and it is sort of the, hey, this is baby mode of Lost Vale. Because one of the bosses straight up has a mechanic from the last boss of Lost Vale. of where you get punted into the air and you need to detaunt while you're in the air before you land. Because it can combine with a empowering buff the boss can have on that technically can be not cleaved. Once tanks have it, you can pull a thing off of somebody. It's like barriers, hots. I can't disenchant. That's not the right word.
I'm sorry. Let me break in real quick. Tosh, you're still there, right?
Yep.
I sincerely want to, and I mean that. I sincerely want to hear what you got to say, but I got to take a 3 or 4 minute break. So if you can hold off till I get back, please. I'll be back in a few minutes.
And I have no idea what you guys are talking about, so that's why I'm not really speaking too much on this topic, just because I don't know the dungeons, I don't know the mechanics, I don't know them, so I really have no like opinion on the mechanics of them. So that's why I'm letting you guys just kind of just talk about the mechanics of the dungeons.
Well, they did add a thing that's kind of cool. It costs money now, but it's for like each wing of Gunbad, and they've talked about adding it for other stuff, is the like 3 orbs. It's randomized. It's randomized buffs you can spend a small amount of gold on. It's you get minor, moderate, or major, and then you'll get like crit damage, healing, damage, and move speed, which is just hilarious. Although they don't do a great job of telling you that 2 buffs of the same rank, of the same type, do not stack. It will just refresh your buff. So if you get like moderate crit, it'll just refresh the one you already have. It doesn't double up the buff. But you can get minor speed, moderate speed, major speed, and go like 40% faster on foot. That's just funny. Hey, zombies. I was kindly invited by Toth and Tosh to participate, so I'm more than happy to be here. And I may be talking more than my fair share, also.
You're fine. It's the floor is open to anyone that wants to bring a topic to the table. Has always been my rule of thumb.
Yeah, no, feel free to talk about it. You talk about.
Can't target
I
the
have,
helm.
yeah. I have no opinion I have like no experience on dungeons, mechanics, bosses, so I just have nothing really to offer in that conversation. But feel free, talk about it as much as you want. It's
Well,
not
I
a
also don't want to exclude you from it.
No,
no,
It's
of
not
course not.
something like you're super interested in.
Tosh is
No,
not joking when he says that he really doesn't understand the dungeons.
no, I don't.
I know he's not a big fan of PvE because I make jokes about that when I hop into his chat every now and then. He's
It's
gonna
not that
like
it's not that
if
I'm
I
not
try to put it
a
all
fan.
together, he's gonna do defensive witch elf and then run PvE.
No, no, I would not.
Also, I did see somebody, I don't remember whose stream it was, but I did hop into somebody's stream and watch them fight a defensive witch elf, and I'm like, oh man, that stuff needs to be nerfed. Sorry. Because I saw a defensive witch elf 1v3 people, and I'm like, ugh. It wasn't even the one it was happening to, and it was still upsetting to see.
It's so dark I didn't hardly see it.
Wait, what? Magic power and melee power don't get reduced by toughness?
No, because they don't go to the same like stat um threshold like strength and intelligence does.
Well, I knew they didn't hit the soft cap, but they did, because I ended up actually doing the math across a couple characters to double check. But they are essentially 1-to-1 with your main stat.
No, no, they're
Like,
not. They're 2 to 1.
so when you go to melee and look at damage bonus, they equate to 1-to-1.
If you look at on your paper doll,
Oh
they
man.
might. But if you look at your get stats, they do not.
Oh, your gets. Yeah, I don't use. I was just looking at my character, like, panel, window, whatever you want to call it.
Okay. Zombies are friends, not food. That's a pretty good name.
I believe Josh was holding off on saying something about Land of the Dead.
Or the server in general, I think.
Oh, okay.
Everyone else go first.
We already did.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, my biggest disagreement with Karis was that Karis said there's only a couple small issues and nitpicky problems on the server. I completely disagree with that statement. I think that the fact this is going to be a rant that everyone's heard from me for 2-3 years now, but the fact that the ability rework is going on for 3 years and being incomplete, and you've got two archetypes that have been effectively finished, but the third one is still has not been. It's not a small nitpicky problem. That is a major, across the board problem that has taken them for so long to get that fixed, to get that taken care of, while they're working on trying to replace and release new PvE dungeons. The core aspect of the game, which is PvP, has gone broken and been broken for 3 straight years. That's not a small problem.
I can understand the DPS rework taking longer, only because that's the classes. Whereas, what, healers are a fourth, tanks are a fourth, but then you have range and melee. But it does seem like a long time.
In my
And
in my in my opinion, what they should do, what they should have done, and what they should do now is revert all changes that have been made for the ability work for all classes until they're all done, then release them all at once. The fact that they've released them all in stages has completely imbalanced the whole aspect of what the game is. It does not give a DPS player almost any role because now you have classes that can play healers as tanks or as DPS almost all rolled up in one. So your pure DPS classes, especially your single target DPS classes, have almost no role any longer in the game. They can be overshadowed by somebody who wants to play a hybrid role, as an example. You have now DPS classes that can be tankier than tanks, aka regen witch elves. You have healers that try to be DPS instead of healing themselves. So now you got classes where the archetype is no longer even fundamentally what it's supposed to be, and then you have DPS again just kind of left out with nothing to do because their roles that they're supposed to do have been removed because their not rework has not been done. That's not a small problem in my opinion.
Okay.
I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, I see your point. I guess um, I I tend not to look at the game through that particular set of visors because I play basically three classes. That's where I spend most of my time. Every now and then I'll play something else, but I don't have the. I never have had it. I've never really been that interested in having the database knowledge on every class in the game to look at it the way you just broke it down. So I'm not disagreeing with you, or you know, I'm just saying that you're better equipped to look at it that way than I am. I look at it more along the lines of, how can we keep this interesting? And I suppose that's fixing all those problems. I suppose that would be one way too. So
There's things this game needs to be worked on. I think for me, PVE is the very last thing that needs to be worked on. Yes, I understand, and yes, I agree that PVE brings in players, especially if you're trying to go after the WoW crowd. If you're trying to get that WoW player who's tired of vanilla WoW, or doesn't like the expansions of WoW, or doesn't like the private servers of WoW for whatever reason, you're trying to bring those players in. Um, Although I don't think it's going to work on this server at all long term. Um,
wait, could you hear what I was saying just a minute ago?
you were very quiet, but I heard you.
I had my microphone turned away. Sorry about that. But I agree with you. I think trying to go after the trying to after the WoW players with PvE content here. I agree with you. I see that's kind of a waste of time. WoW is too expansive. I mean, there's so much ground to cover in that game that Warhammer just doesn't have. I'm not sure why they would even try to to approach it from that angle.
I also think that this game suffers from a problem that a lot of games suffer from, and that is as time goes by, it's gotten far too casual, far too trying to make the game accessible for everyone instead of trying to keep the niche community that a PvP MMO does have, which is very niche in itself. And if you're trying to make the game accessible for all, then it basically becomes non-fun for everybody.
Bit of lag
That's
there.
how I see it. This game does not need to be accessible for 100% of the population. It needs to be accessible for the people that like PvP, that want a PvP MMO, which is the core aspect of this game. Um, and if you don't fix the problems, if you don't adjust what the core base of the game is for, then you don't have a base of a game and you're ignoring why people are here. People do not find this game because they find the 30-year-old engine entertaining. They like it because of the nostalgia, and because still to this day, no one seems to be able to make a PvP MMO that's worth a shit. Sorry, Toth. Everybody seems to want to roll out PvP MMOs that have almost nothing to do with PvP, aka New World, and then they shut down in 3 years, or they fall, or they get canceled before development's even done. This is one of the few games where PvP, as its structure, is there, and they seem to be forgetting that aspect of it. And that happens, in my opinion, to a lot of people, a lot of bean counters who want to look at numbers and saturation rates, and I want to look at Steam trends and things like that. Even though this game does not have any of that, they're trying to, in my opinion, focus on that crowd and follow the leader. And to me, it's going to be the death of the server in the end.
Was that New World? Didn't you used to stream that game for a little while, right?
Yeah,
That one died.
yeah, it's effectively shut down. They
Huh.
quit all development, and they have basically fired the whole team. And I think as of 2027, it's going to be a dead server. They've already announced it.
Hmm.
And it's only been out for what now, 3 years? You're talking, $100 million game canceled in what, 3 or 4 years?
Yeah, they released a essentially an expansion, a minor expansion. They announced that their previous expansion was free, liked their users, and then 3 days later announced the game was going into maintenance mode and then would be shutting down a year later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
insane that
Yep.
They had somebody so out of touch who's like, "Oh, let's spike our players and then disappoint everyone and drop to half of what we were before the spike immediately."
It's something about the massive amounts of money they put into some MMO games. Like I did a bit on one of the podcasts. I'm trying to remember the name of it. Uh, it was a shooter like Overwatch, and they put all this money into it. They put all these characters and advertising, and the thing lasted a week.
Concord?
Concord, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that was it. And
I'm sorry. Yeah, somebody said Deadlock. You're gonna have to narrow it down more because there's more than one of those.
So
it was
that's
Concord was the one I was talking about, though.
so anyway, that's why I disagreed with what Karasana says. I don't view the problems that this server has as small, insignificant issues. I view them as major, big problems that is causing this server to not just not grow, to lose people day by day. It's not that it's not growing; it's actually very slowly shrinking every day. I don't view the problems that Karasana talked about as being minor for that reason. That's why I said why I fundamentally disagree with his comment.
Okay, Forrest. No, I understand. I understand. I I guess the differentiation I would make is, well, like I said, when you take a specific example again, like some of the scenario changes that have been made, like the barriers that went up in High Pass Cemetery and
I think I'm
Serpent's
gonna have to go
Passage,
back to
some of
my
that stuff,
AoE spec.
some of that stuff. Um, I see those as issues, but it's not an issue that's going to cause me to quit the game. And I don't think most people who would stop playing the game are stopping because of that. They probably are stopping because of the broader issue that you brought up about the class reworks and all that. I mean, like I said, you're in a better position to talk about that particular factor of it than I am. But uh, when it comes to people leaving the game, I think that's probably got to be one of the big reasons is all the
Well, I mean,
class balance stuff. That's
well, you've got the class issue stuff. Then you also have a problem that the campaign has become meaningless for 4 or 5 years now, and there's no point to pushing cities. There's no point to winning forts. There's no point to winning zones because city in itself is fundamentally a non-issue.
well,
So
they're completely
because
irrelevant.
exactly, and again, that's not a small problem. That is a core problem with the game. When the community as a whole, when the player base says the whole aspect of the game, which is the campaign, doesn't matter, that's a problem.
Yeah, I never agreed with the unified coin theory that was put into practice. I understood
Oh
that.
no. Unified coins, I'm all behind because I hated like, oh, you are doing off spec? Well, you have to do scenarios. That sucked. Or like, oh, you want to do RVR? Well, hey, you're not going to make progress towards your gear. Is that what you're talking about? Like the
Yeah,
medallions
the
and emblems
different.
being merged into crests?
Yeah, all the different kind of crests. I never. I
Yeah.
understood that could be a little. That whole system could sometimes be a little tedious or maybe aggravating, but I
It
never
was
thought it was hard. I
the
never thought
the
it was
the
hard.
problem with that system was is that by the time you got enough of any one of the crests or metals that you needed for a particular gear
You're done
set,
with those.
you'd already outstripped the use for it. And that
Yeah.
was something I often talked with the powers that be about because I got asked about it one time. I said, by the time that you get enough of them to actually get the gear set you need, you don't need the gear anymore. I said, realistically, I'm looking at the numbers. I said, by the time you get enough of those of that level medallion to actually get the gear, you've leveled beyond it. I said the system is outdated and it either needs to be updated or adjusted to compensate for what's going on, or you need to come up with something better. I
Well,
said, but
I don't- and I don't think the server's never going to go back. And I wouldn't
Well,
advocate
in the
for it at this
current
point.
iteration, it can't go back.
Yeah. Um, and I wouldn't advocate for that anyway, but what I would and have advocated for is to address the issue Tosh brought up just a moment ago about the fact that cities are completely irrelevant. There's
Oh
no
yeah.
need for them at all. But that's the problem that I see could be easily fixed. Is that you just add, you have the bag rewards as normal, but then you add one more level that would go out on a more limited basis, but call it a sapphire bag or a platinum bag or whatever. And in that particular bag, there's a piece of sovereign gear or a piece of warlord gear or something that's different than all the other crap that you can get anywhere.
Honestly, I wouldn't even mind the cities going back to how it was originally when the zones were forcing the unlock of the cities. The only reason the cities
Yeah,
got
that was
put the only
yeah.
reason the cities got put on the instant system was because you had a portion of the player base that was essentially deliberately keeping the cities to one specific time zone for their basically their own amusement. And anytime
Yeah.
any part of the population would try to shift it, they would literally grind them into the ground, and it got so out of hand that they were basically bragging about it even on the forums. It forced the devs to have to step in and put a stop to it because people were quitting over it. They're literally cyberbullying people off the server. And that was coming out of one large Russian guild. I know because I was around when that was going on.
Well, anyway, that's my two examples of two big things that are on the server that I don't view as small problems. I wasn't trying to get into like a city debate.
No, it's a fair
Oh,
point.
I think a city debate deserves to be had though.
Yeah, we
it's
got to talk
it's
about something.
it's a fair point though that I wouldn't mind seeing the old city system come back to see the campaigns regain the meaning behind them. I would love to see that come back. But I also know that the player base will go right back to that mindset of where one small group of the player base will basically say, okay, well, we're going to quickly monopolize the cities and ensure that it stays on our time frame. And that's the problem with the player base is because they're manipulative, they're self-centered, and they don't care how bad they wreck the system. And it'll force the devs to have to re-implement something or put it right back on it because they're too stubborn to realize that their actions are what drove it to have to be done like that.
Well, the other thing is kind of like what Karasana said, though, is that just making cities, you have to give cities a purpose. They have to have some sort of like reason to be in. And if it's not gear, then what is it? If you're not going to put special gear in the end of cities, then the only option is like faction buffs. That would be the only option.
Yeah.
Make it so 3 to 5 days or whatever. The faction that wins city overall gets X percentage across the board of either like influence, or renown, or experience, or gold, or something to make it where again there's a whole point to city. Until that happens again, there's no point in city, even if you make it where it's like, oh, you get sovereign now. Well, 90% of the population on the server doesn't give a shit about sovereign anymore because everyone has it.
True.
Yeah.
So
Well,
so what so what are you gonna? Oh, and sorry, I said shit again. Sorry.
one.
So
Go
what are you
ahead.
gonna do for those players? What are you gonna do for those players who don't care about gear? City's still gonna be meaningless.
Well, one of the ideas Max put forward a while back, and this was on podcast, was the idea of behind cities adding it in to where, say, if Destro captured Altdorf, it puts a dungeon in Altdorf that adds in a gear set that Destro can then go get out of Altdorf for their side, a faction-based gear as an additional reward, something new. It was something he toyed around
Eh.
with.
Like, that sounds neat, but it seems weird for the people who like RVR that their reward is PvE.
It didn't say anything about it being PvE based gear.
No, well, no, the reward is PvE. It's a dungeon. Like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, you do
I
this
get
big
it.
campaign that's RVR, and then you can do PvE.
Well, here's the
Because, like,
thing.
if you told Tosh, like, hey, you won in RVR, go do a dungeon.
Okay, here's the thing. You're doing PvE even in PvE, even in PvP. Every time you take a keep, you're fighting a PvE mob.
Oh yeah, and I think that should probably be changed also. I think more people would enjoy it more if it was, because sitting there beating on an NPC that's essentially just a tank and spake NPC is
How would you change it?
strange.
If you made it, if
Uh,
you couldn't,
well,
you
I
could.
actually talked to Tosh about this briefly the
Go
other
ahead.
day. The in I think the cities stage 3 you still have one of each role. Melee DPS, range DPS, healer, tank, all become sort of champions. Correct? I haven't done a city in a long time, so I'm assuming that's what still happens.
As far as I know, that's what still happens. But I haven't done City in going on 6 years. But as far as I know, yes, you still get a champion for each archetype that gets spawned up. And then your object is to kill those champions as you kill the PvE lord.
If the defenders in the keep, a champion was chosen of each one or a single one, and they were the keep lord, I think that would be more interesting than wailing on a NPC without any mechanics. Then if, say, you take down the inner keep door, because I guess we're talking tier 4 for this scenario or example.
You can do keep
You
too,
take the,
really.
okay, you take down the keep door. If there's no defenders inside, no champion is selected. The keep auto flips. If there is defenders, one of each role maybe becomes the keep lord, and then once those 4 are killed, the keep flips. That would incentivize people even in low pop. Like, say your faction doesn't have a whole lot of people, well, you can go defend the keep, become a champion, and maybe get some kills, and get some extra renown out of it. That would incentivize people to go actually show up to keep defenses that aren't going to be stomps or guaranteed victories, but like, hey, if I go over there, I might get a chance to do it, and it could be kind of fun to be a champion. And I think that would be more fun for both the attackers and the defenders than just rallying around an NPC with no mechanics.
Except this is what would happen is that you would still get keeps, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying it wouldn't be a bad idea. I wouldn't mind it, but this is what would happen: is that you'd still get keeps where 10 people defend it. They would just all go top floor, and then you would have 4 champion mobs on top floor trying to funnel and just farm kills as long as possible. And you would have to try to kill four champion mobs or 4 lord mobs on the top floor. That's what would happen.
Yeah, there would need to be like boundary for them to like not be able to like walk outside the keep. Maybe they couldn't go to the 3rd floor or something.
Well, then you're limiting defense options.
Yeah,
But
but at a certain point, you would need to decide like, hey, is this if the champions can go here, is this problematic? If not, then just let it happen. If it is, then there would need to be additional stuff for it.
Let me ask you guys a question about that, because I've never been a fan of the 3rd floor defense. So let me just ask this: would I be correct if I made the statement that the primary reason that people choose to go fight on the 3rd floor is because they don't think they can win on either the 1st or the 2nd?
Yes.
Most of
Would
the
that-
time,
okay.
yeah.
And
Okay.
they want to get as many kills as possible on the 3rd floor, because they know they're gonna lose.
It's the Helm's Deep moment. It's like, we know we're gonna lose, and we're gonna fight until the end, and we're gonna get something out of this, or we're gonna die trying. And I think
Well-
that is a mindset that is actually healthy for the game. Then just everybody, oh, war report out, bye. I've seen a lot of that too, which is kind of depressing.
Oh man, feel free to die. Put up a story time icon. If nobody else gets why that's funny, I do. Oh man. Sorry for the interruption. But I'm just my now this is just a personal view of my own when it comes to that third floor defense. I understand what you guys are saying, but about trying to get kills and all that. But I think if you're in a keep defense and you know you're going to lose, just fight it on the first floor and just
And
put up a fight,
well,
and
the
when it's
problem
over,
with the first floor is you've got the postern right behind you, so
all
it's
right,
easier to defend
fight
the
with a
third floor.
keyboard, fight with a keyboard.
And the
Well, the
I
problem
key
with
just
floor does no damage; it just
the
tickles people.
yeah, the problem with the keep lord defending there is that it's if you're outnumbered, there's no way to defend every opening. It's just not. If the other side has the numbers, they're just gonna swarm in, and you cannot cover that.
But some of the
That's
best keep defenses that, like back when I used to do Realm Watch, the best keep defenses I ever saw and the best ones I ever participated in were exactly those where people did choose to fight on the first floor and had the numbers to make it work.
Yeah,
At least,
if you have the numbers, sure. But again, if a lot of the times order doesn't have the numbers, so their thought process is go to a confined
yeah,
area where they at
yeah, I got
least
that.
have somewhat of a chance, maybe, and try. And unfortunately, third floor is the only place confined enough to try to rob Destro of the ability to swarm, because Lord Room is just there's too many ways in, and they can't cover them all.
Uh,
And as Hermit pointed out, it's yeah, it's the Helm's Deep mindset. It's make your peace with whatever you believe in, and you fight to the last man.
all right.
But yeah,
I need a couple more minutes.
basically
I'll be
third
back.
floor is because it's easiest to defend because there's only one direction to have to defend. That's why third floor is done that way. It's also why Dark Elf keeps are easier to defend because they've got thinner doors. You can get fewer people through the door at a single time. Well, not just Dark Elf keeps in general. They have the thinner doors.
Sonny.
All right, sorry, I had to step away.
No, you're good.
Which would you rather be? 6 foot 3 inches or 3 foot 6 inches? Which? Sorry,
As somebody who's 6'2", probably 6'3".
I'm on drugs. I don't think 6 foot got that joke. I don't think anybody got that joke.
Hey, you
Oh man.
barking up the wrong tree with me, cause
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, what's next?
I don't know. Those are the scenarios and the campaign not really being big are two of my biggest concerns.
For me, it's
Oh,
class rework and campaign.
I think it's a little bit of a turnoff for people that hit fresh 40, because I think fresh 40 is probably the point where you feel weakest in the game.
All right, hang on. I got to take another. I got to turn my mic off for a minute.
And this is one of the reasons why you clear the trash in Bastion Stair.
Well, you don't gotta clear it if you don't die.
The problem is that when you... I've seen even well-geared people still die.
Are you on double skull boss?
No, we were running up the stairs. Hold on a second.
So I don't think the current bolster actually really covers the gap.
It's not meant to be a replacement. It's meant to be a stopgap.
I understand. I think it falls probably a little short of doing that, in my opinion.
I think it fits the role perfectly fine. I believe. I think if you're, I think the the non-casual player, the one who's actually going to be playing the game to to progress their character, has no problem once they hit 40. They're probably already like around 50, if not 60, when they hit 40 anyway. A lot of
What?
it's only the real casual players that they push to 40 quickly, because they've been taught and trained that in all other MMOs the aspect of the game is to level fast. So they get to level 40 as quickly as they possibly can. They go through all the dungeons, they grab all the Bloodlord gear and whatnot because it unlocks all the wards, and they end up hitting 40, and they end up being like 40-40. Then they get shit on because they've done no PvP. They've done
I,
purely almost all PvE.
what?
Those players
That's
will get
crazy.
crapped on. Yes, they will get crapped on. The players that run through dungeons, not dungeons, do the queue scenarios and play PvP. By the time they hit 40, they're usually closer to run rank 60 than they are run on rank 40.
I've
Those
leveled
two-
exclusively in scenarios, and I've never had more than 40, 48 when I hit 40.
Well, then you're getting some bad luck. I can't play a class and not be almost around rank 50 by the time I'm 40. Um, I have to really try to not be run on rank 50 when I'm at least 40, when I hit 40. And I've been closer to run rank 60 on some tunes by the time I hit 40. Um, but again, I play the game. I play the game on a much different mindset of PvP almost exclusively. Again,
Yeah.
um, and I've never viewed bolster at 40 to be okay. Now I'm 40. I'm 40-40, but I want to be able to hit and act like I'm 40-80. Wrong. No.
Oh no, I'm not worried about hitting 40, 80. I'm talking about you hit 40, and all of a sudden you're just getting shit on by people with bolster.
If you're if you're 40-40
Sorry.
and if you're 40-40 and you're running around in annihilator gear, or you're running around in some PQ gear or whatever, and you're 40-50 or 40-40, yeah, but you should be, because people have spent time and effort to rank up their tunes, to get their gear, to get good. They put in the time and effort into it. Um, so I
Oh
think
no, no.
bolster. I
I
think
don't think
bolster
that
itself
should
is
be
fine.
discounted, because like people that have earned their gear absolutely deserve their gear. Because if you do anything to that, that'll kill the game. I'm saying the transition from being 39 and then hitting 40, it feels like you fall off a cliff. Also,
Again,
yes,
I
SCs
think
do give way too much XP.
I think you fell off cliff if your renown rank is again is if it's low. If you hit level 40 and your renown rank is 40, so you're 40-40, then yes, you're gonna feel like you fell off a cliff. But I don't think any player really should be hitting 40-40 when they hit 40. I think everyone should be closer to 40-50, if not 40-55, if they actually want to play the game as a PvP game. I
Yeah,
just don't think
but
a lot of casuals do.
yeah, but Tosh, that also depends on the groups you get in, because I
Oh yeah,
even with some of the tunes that I've leveled, there'll be times when I'll get into a run of bad groups where you get basically no renown, or you'll run up against pre-mades and you get nothing to show for it. So gaining those renown levels, yeah, you could get in a bunch of SCs and stuff. Sure, you might get some XP out of it, but you get no RR. I've had that happen for like a week straight. I'll get a bunch of my base levels, but then I get no RR. So that ain't always the case to be able to hit 40 and be close to the 55 range like you want to be. It's entirely dependent on the groups you get in with.
Well, I think maybe it could be mitigated by reducing the amount of XP given in scenarios.
Well, even playing solo free, feel free. I don't run with a specific group. I can queue up solo. It still boils down to running the group of people you're playing with in an SC. If you get in an SC and that group gets steamrolled, you're not going to get a whole lot of renown. And if that repeatedly happens over the course of a weekend or anything else, you're not going to have anything to show for it.
Yeah, I've been getting last couple of weekends. I've done the weekend event SC where I'm getting sub 1,000 renown for a scenario where I'm running the renown potion and it's plus 50% renown gain, and I'm getting like 700 per scenario. That's rough. When I could run one box and get basically the same amount.
I run a lot of boxes.
Oh yes, I generally do as well.
People would
Because
be
there's a lot of
amazed of
people that
people
don't
would be
want to run
amazed of how much
boxes.
yeah, people would be amazed of how much renown you can get from running boxes.
Especially when you run them to the keep and not the camp where you get half. And people still don't understand that for some reason.
Hmm?
Hey, Ta, you know what song you should be playing on your stream right now?
What?
Ring of Fire.
Fisk, how you doing?
I don't have anything playing because I didn't want to
Oh,
drown
man.
out people talking.
I mean, but kind of go. I kind of derailed what Herman brought up. I think bolster is technically, me personally, I think it's fine. Now, could you look into maybe reducing XP in scenarios? Sure, I'm fine with that. I'm okay with that. Um, I think experience is a little bit higher than what it should be when you do scenarios. I agree. But you know, I think bolster once you hit 40. If you're a player and your class is 40 and you're 40, 40, 40, 42, 40, 43, I'm just gonna come out and say it. Up to that point, you played the game wrong. I'm sorry. Up to that point, you set yourself up for failure once you hit 40, 40, or once you hit 40 career level. You played it wrong up to that point.
Well,
And now,
okay, look, that's perfectly
and now you're
fair, but is
and now
that
you're
made
gonna
clear
suffer
to
for it a
people?
little bit. Well, I agree with that. I think there could be now the aspect of it now being clear to people. I will say this is that this game is going on, almost 30 years old. There shouldn't be too many brand new players that have no idea how this game is being played, and there shouldn't be very many people when this server is going on 10 years old, you know, that have no idea about how the mechanics of this game should be at this point. At this point, it should be quite common knowledge, and if it's not, then you're just going to get left out until you catch on.
Well,
But-
I think that's probably a bad approach, though, if you want the game to do well. Because I had people during the Twitch drop event hop in,
Mhm.
and well, one of them made me feel really old because they were like, "Oh man, I remember watching my dad play this game," and I'm like, "Oh, thanks. That
Yeah,
didn't hurt deep inside at all."
yeah.
But if you want new people playing the game because we are an aging this game literally the aging demographic, so people are literally going to die off. Even if
course.
they don't get
Don't.
bored and stop playing. So you need new people to join if you want the game to continue because you need bodies. This is an MMO. So I
Well,
think there needs to be a little bit I'm not saying hand holding because you get too much of that and people feel like you're basically the game is talking down to them and that's a whole different set of issues. But I think there could be a little bit more of what the expectation is made a little bit more clear. Like, hey, you don't want to hit career 40 at renown 40. Like that being made clear to people, I think would be a big step
and,
forward.
and I think that is technically clear to people if they would listen to advice chat when they come in the game and they ask a question. If they would do a little bit of independent self-service research before they join the game. I think that concept has been widely expressed over 10 years that you don't want to be 40 and be 40-40. It's better for your class if you at the very minimum 40-40, but you don't want to do that. I think that's been expressed a lot over 10 years on this server.
Well, that is true,
It's
but
been
I'll
expressed.
interject. Yeah, that is true, but I'll also say that it has been expressed that, or I should say, it is also true that going from renown rank 40 to 50 isn't that hard or time consuming anymore. It doesn't. I mean, you're right. I'm not saying you're right about. But if you find yourself at 40-40, it's not the end of the world because it doesn't take
It doesn't.
really doesn't take that long to get up to around rank 50 and even 50 to 60, depending on the class you're playing.
The only real grind, in my opinion, is once you get to like 70, going from 70 to 80, is the only technically kind of like real grind I think this game feels like when it comes to like RVR levels. And even then, it's not a real grind problem because you're only talking what, a half a million renown total between 70 and 80, half a million. people will do, 200,000-300,000 in a day. So even
Yeah.
then, it's not a big deal. Um, so there again, I don't think it's a problem personally. I just don't.
Mhm.
I think the bigger issue is that when you get a player that comes into this game and they're like, oh wow, I didn't know this game was running. I watched my dad play this game. Okay, cool. What game are you playing now? Oh, right now I'm playing X MMO game or X mobile game or X console game. They want to know, how does it compare to that experience? How does it compare to the experience of a current game that I'm playing now? Well,
But
in that respect, this game is gonna drive people away because it's not a current new age MMO game that people play now that tells them go here,
It's
click
not
this,
gonna
click that,
reset.
walk
yeah,
there, see him, see her.
I
This
mean,
is your.
you can't compare this to mobile
No,
games at all.
it's
Mobile
not. But
games are
but people have the expectation that it's going to play like those games that they
yeah.
play today, and it's not going to. So for those players, yes, this game can feel old, it can feel grindy, it can feel monotonous, but that's because this game isn't today's games. That's how I see that. And nor do I want this game to feel like today's games. It's already gotten, in my opinion, too casual already. I think people have forgotten because I get tired of hearing people, and I'm not saying anyone said this recently. I get tired of hearing people that say, "Well, today we don't have as much time because of work and family than people did 10 or 20 years ago." That's garbage.
Yeah, the people
Life,
playing with 3 wives, 40 kids, and 12 grandkids,
yeah,
and 4 jobs.
life has not changed in the last 30 years that much when it comes to PC games. Where 20 years ago, you could just do whatever you wanted because you had all day. No one was working. No one had children. No one had careers. No one had mortgages to pay. Garbage. It's always been that way. It's just that 20 years ago, you didn't have the technology to allow so much automation to happen like we do now. So people actually had to play games. People actually read books. People actually learned history. People actually, followed things. Whereas today they don't. They just don't. They want to be told what to do, how to do it, where to go, then how to get it done, and then they leave. That is one reason why I say even brand new games that try to cater to all of these requirements that people say they want, these games will blow up. They'll have 1 million players, and then in 6 months, they're all dead.
Yeah, it's a big you think you do but you don't moment.
Yeah, because they go into them, they're like, okay, I'm bored. I'm bored. I got everything done. I did everything in a week because the game just walks my hand, holds me through, and I did everything I want to do. I'm now max level, max character, max gear, max everything in a week. I quit. This is not one of those games, nor should it be one of those games. This game is supposed to be a game that requires time and more than time, dedication to growing and getting better. And I'm not saying make people wait a year to get their end game stuff, but the fact that people now have an expectation of you know, well, how long will it take me to get to 40? A week? A week's too long. I think it should be 5 days. Okay, we'll make it 5 days. Well, 5 days is too long now. Now it should be 4 days. Okay, we'll make it 4 days. 4 days is too long. Now it should be 3 days. That's where we're at right now.
I can get to 40 in 2 days. What are you talking about?
you know?
I can, without joking, I can get to 40 in 2 days.
Yeah, if you
There's,
stay at it for a decent amount of time,
yeah.
hitting that ain't a problem.
No, it's not a problem. There's a lot of people that have come onto the server, or like actually like Karasano's son Techno. Techno is an example I'll use on this. Techno will go from 0 to 40 in about 2 to 3 days. Now, granted, Techno when he did this would play for 30 hours straight, and also Techno has a fair amount of friends on the server that will
Hmm.
help walk him through and help him do things. That is also an aspect of things. But he's an example of a person that will go from 0 to 40 in 2 or 3 days. It's not hard to do. Now it takes him, well, 30 to 40, real time playing hours, but he'll do it.
Yeah, 30-30 took me 16 hours.
Yeah, so it's not hard. It just takes people to actually pay freaking attention, be awake at your computer, and then actually try and try to do better and try to become a better player. That's all leaving, in my opinion. This server is losing. In fact, Bombling. I don't know if it was Bombling. I have to look on the forums, but somebody put up on the forums about talking about how why is the skill on this server dropped off so much when it comes to like a player to player like sense of skill.
I
I
don't think it has.
I think it drastically has,
It when I played in
dramatically.
live and when I played when I played in 2021, the skill seemed about the same. But then again, I also think the skill was bad the entire time. I don't think it was ever good.
I'm not.
I
I'm
think
not.
there's a very small group of people that are actually very good at the game, but then I also think there's a lot of people who just get carried to their gear and then they think they're good when they're doing bad rotations and their gear is essentially carrying them.
True. That can happen as well. That's why you have so many regen Wiis, because they're getting carried by their gear.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
um, and I agree with that. But my point is that if you look at the player base on this server, I'm excluding 20 to 2022 because
Mhm.
that's when we had the huge population boost. So
What?
there was a lot of crap players on a server because of influence, not because of need or want. It was influence. So I'm going to exclude that 2 year period. Outside of that 2 year period, what we don't have any longer is we don't have guilds that teach players any longer the game. Now, what you have is you have guilds that recruit because they want to have guild numbers. They don't teach. They don't teach rotations. They don't teach mechanics. They don't teach core aspects of the game. So, for all these new people that come into these games and they join X guild because they're recruiting, they don't teach them anything. So you have all these players that run around and they just mash a button, they just target a character that's in front of them, and then they just mash a button. They don't pay attention to what debuffs are being applied. They don't pay attention to timers. They don't pay attention to cooldowns. They don't pay attention to morale drops. They don't pay attention to what target they're going after. They just go after who's in front of them and they just mash a button. That's the players that we have, I think, more and more and more on this server. Because as we lose the large guilds that have taught players things in the past, they're gone. They're gone. Now, if you join a guild, are they teaching you anything? No. Do they go through rotation with you? No. Do they tell you how to play a class? No. Do they show you how to play a class? No. Do they walk you through your class? No. They just say, this is your spec, this is your gear, do it. And if
Oh,
you don't,
then
and if you and if you
Goblin
and if,
Workers Union has done a pretty good job of like
okay,
teaching people.
then they are what I would consider a exception, not the rule.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine.
Then I
I
would then
just
I would
so like my perception has been skewed because I found this guild like fairly early on when coming back to the game.
then I would applaud them for doing so. I would applaud them for doing so. Most guilds these days don't do that. From what I've seen, they just don't do that. They just recruit people, then they say, okay, you're on your own.
Yeah, I
Outside,
think this is sort of the
outside.
Zerg mentality of guilds
Oh yeah. Again,
of
because
you just want the numbers.
well, again, because I think that's because skill has dropped. So the only thing that wins this game now is Zerg. It's Zerg and AOE because the skill level has dropped. No one understands how to compete against an opposition before or in front of them. They don't know how to compete against it. So it's just throw numbers at a problem.
It would be nice to see. I don't know exactly a solution to it, but a way for smaller numbers to handle Zergs. It would be nice to see that. That way, more tactical play is incentivized versus just, oh, do we have numbers? We don't have numbers. Okay, don't go in lake.
The thing that I've always argued a lot on this server, and not just this server, this goes to any PvP game, is that you have like there's too many people. There's too many people that come into this game, and they'll look at an enemy and I call them number counters. In fact, Karasana
Mhm.
has joked about this a lot about me. But they'll look at it and they'll say, "Oh, there's three of them. There's two of us. We can't do that. There's three of them, two of us. We're not fighting." My opinion has always been, well, how do you know? How do you know that those three people are not AFK? How do you know those three people, one of them isn't on auto follow? How do you know those three people are even aware of what they're doing? How do you know those three people even know what they're doing? How do there's 1,000 questions that you don't know. But people are so afraid of taking that 2v3 because they're just looking at a number and say we can't do it because it's 2v3. Crap. You can do that. You can potentially do it. Try out and find out. And if you fail, well, what happens? You lose 20 silver. Who cares? Instead of playing this number game of, well, there's three of them, two of us. Nope. Now we need to get four. Well, now we have four. Let's go attack to three. Oh wait, now there's five of them. There's four of us. Never mind. Run away. That's the mentality that the server has right now. Is just bringing numbers to a problem instead of, again, teaching people how to play and how to overcome potentially less superior numbers.
Mhm.
And that takes effort. It takes time. It takes dedication. It takes a lot of frustration of dying and learning. They're not going to do that.
No, most won't do that because
No.
they're too used to everything being handed to them easy.
Yeah.
I will say I've done that in the past, but usually because I also notice the people are wearing the Sov helmet and back piece. In which case I'll be like, nah, let's not do that.
Again, but you don't know, just because they got solved doesn't mean they know what the hell they're doing.
Oh yeah, but if I'm standing there in Conqueror gear, I'm less inclined to give it a shot.
Okay, I'm more inclined. To me, if I'm in Conqueror and I'm running around and I'm fighting somebody who's in Sovereign and I realize I have no idea what they're doing, I have a very good shot of beating those people. If they have no idea what they're doing. Because like, for example, like if I come across, like on my Ironbreaker, who my Ironbreaker is around rank 73, okay? You know, you go on my Ironbreaker, and if I come across a around rank 80 Choppa, who all he ever does is play in Zerg warbands. Okay?
Oh, and he's only going to use lots of chopping, even in the single target moment?
He's just going to spam lots of chopping. He's going to do no damage, and he's going to be dead. So why would I take a look at him and say, no, it's not possible?
Well, yeah. Well, you just described a 1v1. I was going off of we have two people, they have three people. If their three people are in Sov, I generally don't do that.
Okay, even so, even if it is, you know, a 2v3 or a 3v4 or a 5v4 or whatever, you don't know what your opposition is capable of unless you try them. Now, if you try them and you lose, okay, fine, you lost. It's a PvP game. It costs you 20 silver or 3 minutes. Minutes. Who cares? Okay, you tried it. Versus standing on the sidelines waiting for that fight to happen that you think you can win. Instead of in taking that fight where you're like, oh yeah, I can win that now because now we outnumber them. So you're not talking about how skillful you are. You're talking about how more people you have. So what does that prove? That you can beat on somebody 3v2? You should be able to.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything to me.
Although usually my bar for entry is, okay, does that 2-man or 3-man have a healer sitting there with them?
Okay. Even so,
and then I usually don't do it.
Even so, you have a healer. You don't know what that healer knows. That healer might just spam AoE heals.
But the problem with that is that's going to cover a lot of ground in making that fight, whether it's going to happen or not.
Okay, then if he's covering a lot of ground, then you kite back and you pull him out of heal range and see if the healer's paying attention. You would be surprised at how dumb some players are when it comes to awareness of the battlefield.
Oh yeah.
So push it, try it.
Push it real good.
And again, if you fail, if you lose, then you lose. Who cares? It's a PvP game.
Yeah.
So what? Why are people afraid at pushing fights they think that they're not going to win without ever trying? If everyone only waits on a
I'll be
fight
right
they
back,
know
guys.
they're
1
going to
second.
win, if people only push fights they know they're going to win, then those are the players that are going to quit the game for being bored.
Yeah, I mean, you never know what fight you're going to win until you take the fight, and nobody. I mean, to get the true spirit of the game with what you guys have been talking about, um, if you never take a chance, and then consequently, lose a fight, I don't think you're doing yourself any real favors.
No,
The
you just
fun of the game is like Tosh has been talking about. You take a fight, and if you win it, that's great. That's what you're in it for. But if it turns out you lose that particular fight, well, you just pick up and go find the next one, right?
yeah. Or you take a fight that you're outnumbered and you kill one or two people, and so you took somebody with you. Maybe you lose the fight if it's a 4v3 and you all die and there's one person on their side left over. Well, you killed three of their people. So
Oh yeah.
in the end, you came out on top. So again, what are you afraid of? Like, why are you not pushing that fight?
I
The
feel
thing-
like
you-
I just
one-
don't get
I
it
feel like
myself.
if you go into a
well,
fight and you have a chance of getting something out of it, it's worth it.
You always have a chance. It's called winning.
Eh, I don't
Is
know.
winning
Sometimes
is
it
winning
definitely doesn't feel like you have a chance.
is winning not the objective in a PvP game?
Oh yeah, it is.
Okay, so then
And
why
it
is
should be.
winning not a good enough of a reason to try? Would
well,
I don't know.
you made a
In my opinion, healers are a little overtuned with the amount of healing they can pump out.
Okay. Okay, I'm not
So
gonna
I'm less
disagree with
inclined
that.
to try against healers.
I'm not picking on you, Hermit. This is not an
Oh, that's
attack.
okay.
So you only take a fight if there's no healer around. Is that what you're saying?
Oh,
Even
no,
if
no.
you have even if you
If
have a
both
healer
sides have a
yourself?
heal, if both sides have a healer, sure.
Okay.
If the other side is 50% healers, nah. Or if the
Okay.
other side is only healers, I might do it. Only because maybe they don't have the damage output, but a lot of times it's just so in my personal opinion, I think AoE healing is too much. Because I originally played a two-handed Chosen because I was like, oh, 25% anti-heal aura. That seems great. Until I realized healers are already over-healing for 80%. So it feels not great when you see people... You have multiple people stack anti-heal. Maybe anti-heal from multiple classes doesn't stack. Maybe that is the case. I don't actually know. But I've seen a Rune Priest overheal the heal cut from my Chosen Aura and a Choppa at the same time and not break a sweat. And sit there and emote about it.
Okay.
Which is just really depressing.
And this Choppa and Chosen, who were they targeting in this fight? And what was this Rune Priest?
It was
fighting
a
with?
2v1. We thought that Rune Priest was AFK.
Okay.
Well, let me chime in if I may, because you made a comment, Tosh, a few minutes ago about now I made a couple jokes about your philosophy, and I know exactly what you're talking about, and I remember one particular occasion where I was watching your stream, and you charged, like I think it was in Prague near the cemetery, and you charged just right into a group of, I mean, just straight ahead, bam, right into a group of like 8 or 9 Destro, and I thought, what the hell, man? That one, okay, that's the part I don't understand.
Like I just did right
You
now.
talk about, I wasn't watching. There's a commercial on your screen right now, but that's the part I don't. I hear your philosophy, and for 90% of it, I agree. That 10% encompasses those times where you look at a group that may be out there, and you absolutely know that you can't win that fight. And for anybody who's played the game, for a decent amount of time, you can make those value judgments. because you know the capabilities of the classes that you're going up against. Okay, if I play my witch elf or even solo on my swordmaster, whatever, if I see a fight that I know I can't win, I'll turn and run from it.
Okay.
You have a habit sometimes of just charging in. That's the part I didn't understand.
Because the habit I have is once I have noticed a warband, what is my range at that point? Consider their warband. What am I supposed to do? Run away and get knocked down and kited from a range class that has a 150-foot range, and I'm already at 100 foot in front of them. Why am I going to run away? Because I can't run away anyway. So I might as well turn at them and die face on instead of trying to kite. What's the point of trying to run? By the time you notice a warband over the horizon, they're already in the range of a range person to dismount you. Once you notice them, once they're in clip range, you're already probably in that 150-foot range where they're going to dismount you anyway. So why try to run away? They're going to chase you anyway and kill you. So just turn around and die. Get it over with.
But I don't want to give them renown.
Well, then don't play a PvP game.
No, I want to take the renown from them. I don't want
Oh.
to give them renown.
Oh, okay. Well, then, you know.
I want to win.
But on my witch elf, a lot of times I can get away.
Yeah,
Well,
Just
because
because
you have
I
the
have the
mechanics
stealth
to do it.
mechanic. I had the mechanics to do it, yeah.
Yeah, that's a completely different scenario, and that's just a class that wants to stand around and watch other people fight because they're too afraid to do anything on their own.
No, no.
Yeah.
I do. Witch
No,
elves are classes
no,
that do things on their own.
no, they can, but whenever there's more than one person around, they won't, unless they have help.
I once took a keep on my well, let me rephrase that. I once recaptured a keep on my own on my witch elf
Yeah.
by myself. It was one of the greatest, and I was streaming too. That was one of the greatest moments ever I ever had on Twitch.
I had a
There were
couple of AFKs sitting in the keep.
there were three of them. There were three of them
Yeah.
standing next, and I killed them all. And before anybody could get back, the flag flipped red, and I was, oh man, that was a great moment. And I got run down. I mean, almost right after the flag flipped red, the Order Warband showed up. And but
That's kind of a different scenario. I mean, anyone can do that, but yes, I know. Just my mindset of the whole. Now, if I'm able to get away from a group or a warband and I'm not, then yes, I'm going to turn around. But if I'm within 150 feet of them, why? Why bother? Why run through a zone trying to get away from somebody if they're going to chase me anyway? Nothing I can do about it. I'm going to get staggered by a zealot, or I'm going to get pulled by a marauder. So why turn around and try to run? Why? So another warband that might see them is going to look at them and say, nope, never mind, and turn around and run away as well? Screw that.
See, I have a different mindset, because if somebody's going to kill me, I try and swim out into the middle of a body of water. That way, at least they have to swim after they kill me.
They don't. I'll just war report, or I'll book out. I'll kill you, then war report back to where I want to go. And I'll...
all right.
No,
Let me make a comment real quick.
And before you do that comment, I'll just say this. And if my war report and if my book doesn't work, then I'm just going to do a stuck 2 times, and then war report back to the beginning. Then I'm going to port over to the zone I want to go to at that point. I'm chasing your ass.
All right, as some of you may know, I had a medical procedure done earlier today, which involved a fiber optic cable being run inside of me. So, and I'm home, but I'm just tired, and I'm about to fall asleep, which is kind of normal after something like that. But I'm glad I got to come in and talk to you guys.
Yeah, I'm glad you came.
Hermit, I'm glad you showed up. That's what the Top Modder podcast needs, is more people willing to, to step up and talk about stuff. So, but I'm going to call it. I'm going to lay down, get some sleep. So you guys take care. Thanks a lot.
Yep, you have a great one. But go ahead, Herman.
Oh no, I am generally, if I know I'm gonna lose, I try to make it as miserable for them as possible.
I mean, that's fair enough. I mean, I understand that mentality. I mean, I do the same thing. It's like, if I see a warband chasing me, I'm going to try to dismount every single one of them to make them wait 3 seconds to remount.
Yeah.
I get that. I get that. I get that. But the number counting of the player base of just saying, oh, there's more of them than there is us, so we're not going to
Oh yeah.
attack, is in my opinion asinine.
Oh yeah. There's. I feel like it should be more than just numbers that you need to like consider. But I'm also for like, hey, are we gonna get something out of this, or are we just going to waste our own time running into this? And I think the people making that decision can't be new to the game because they can't really understand the different aspects that go into that.
See, I prefer if a new player makes that decision than an old player, because in my opinion, a new player doesn't worry about KD ratios or donating renown points or giving away kills. They're more focused on experiencing the game for how it's advertised on all the videos they watch from RoR as being a immersive PvP game. So
Mm-hmm.
I think new players to me have this open-eyed opinion of, oh wow, a PvP game, I get to fight people. Whereas your veteran players, they start to worry more about, I don't want to die on in front of this person or that person, or I don't want my KD ratio to be impacted. So they become a lot more passive-minded because
Oh
they don't
no.
want they don't want to be viewed as like a bad player to the community because they've been in the game for so long. So I would much rather follow and play with someone who's newish
I don't think I'm
and
gonna get
trying to
a
learn the
SC
game,
pop.
who's actually active and wants to learn and improve, versus somebody who's more concerned about their outlook by the community or by their how people are gonna potentially judge them. Um,
If
so I would
somebody's making that decision on KD, I want to make an offensive hand gesture in their general direction.
well, there's people who will completely base it off of KD.
This is a PvP MMO. Your KD should never factor into it.
Okay, well then then in that same aspect, why not take on a fight that looks like you might lose?
Because I want to win, and I would rather run to the other side of the map and see if I can find a different fight I can win.
Okay, you're just gonna wait for a fight that you think you're gonna win and avoid all the fights where you don't think you're gonna win.
No, I'm saying I'm talking more running from fights that I know I won't win
How do you know?
versus like,
How do you
oh
know?
hey, maybe I'll take somebody with me.
How do you know you're not gonna win them?
Oh, you can't be sure, but you
Then
can weigh the odds, and based on your experience playing the game, you can be like, oh hey,
okay,
I'm not even going to be able to bring anybody with me. Because like when I look at a fight, I'm like, okay, will I win this? And because win doesn't mean all of them die, I stay alive. Win means I get something out of this. Like that something could change day to day. That something could be, am I going to get one kill? Am I going to slow this warband down so they can't catch up with the rest of my warband? Am I just going to ruin this person's day just a little bit, and they've already irritated me today, so it's worth it? That kind of stuff.
I'll give you a real life slash real game scenario, and I don't know if Stink is still in my stream. Let me see if Stink still here. I don't think Stink is in
I
my stream
haven't
anymore.
seen him.
Okay, so Stink plays usually a solo DPS zealot, high renown rank solo DPS zealot. Okay, if I see Stink in open RVR and he's in front of me, I know I'm not going to be able to beat him 1v1.
Yeah.
So does that mean that I'm going to then just run away and avoid him?
Oh, and see, in that case, I'll be like, I know this person. I want to see if I can get him.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Because if I avoid him, then am I going to avoid every other DPS zealot that I'm going to see roam around solo? Because there's a lot of them. And then if it's not going to be, DPS zealot, well, how about, then let's move on to, let's say, regen Wheeze. Okay, well, if it's going to be regen Wheeze, and what about regen or Monster Marauders? So, well, how if it's Monster Marauders, and how about, regen Magus? Are we gonna avoid? So then, are you gonna start avoiding all these fights because of the possible specs or levels that these players are at? Are you gonna avoid
As long
everything?
as long as you leave DPS shamans out of it, I'm fine. I'm fine with that.
I mean, I don't agree with the mindset, and I'm not saying your
Yeah,
mindset.
I can understand.
I don't agree with the mindset of I'm only gonna fight fights that I think I can win. Well, if you don't try, then you don't know if you can win them or
Yeah,
not.
at a certain point, you're not even playing the game anymore because you're too afraid to play the game.
Exactly. People have to get over the fear of losing or dying.
Yeah, I think it's more not necessarily losing, in my opinion, because winning, I feel like winning isn't always the same outcome. People just need to redefine what winning is to them. Because winning isn't, oh, all of them die, I stay alive. Because when I
No,
play my Magus, I play Glass Cannon Magus. And my goal is to have a Witch Hunter jump me and get them with so many dots, they run away, they mount up, run away, and die 50 feet from my dead body. That is a win to me.
exactly. Feel free is correct. The only thing people learn by losing or by dying is I need to bring more numbers, and that's why the skill on this server has dropped off, in my opinion, because the answer that almost every player has on the server now is if I can't beat you, then I'm going to bring more people to beat you. Instead of I'm gonna get better to beat you, it's I'm gonna bring more people to beat you. Well, then that's not you beating me, or that's not you even winning. That's just
That's
overwhelming
you admitting
numbers.
defeat.
Yeah. So, uh, you know, that's why I say the skill on this server has dropped so far off because the player base as a whole has gotten rid of the I'm gonna get better or do better or learn from mistakes instead of just throwing numbers at a problem.
Yeah. Although I did, what was it? During Saga, there was something in RVR that I really liked. When you died, you got a minor buff to everything but wounds. And then when you got a kill, you got a minor buff to renown gain from kills.
Correct.
And those just stacked as you continue. Honestly, that would be awesome if that was just on all the time.
I agree.
Because
Although,
I hadn't done much RVR, and then I was like, oh, I should do the Saga stuff a little bit just to see what it's about. And that buff, like, the coolest thing of Saga for me was that like minor change buff. Even if they like toned it down a little bit, if they wanted to keep it on all the time, I think that would be a good change to get people just get them into lakes.
yeah, because I agree with you there. It gave people. Let's say if you let's say if you were died 3 times or whatever because you died in a fight. Well, now your all of your main stats outside of wounds, you might have a 10, like what was it, a 5% bonus or whatever, just
Yeah,
because
I think it was like something like that. Yeah.
yeah, I think it was like a 5% bonus, somewhere around there. So they gave you a little bit better of a chance. It was almost kind of like a bolster in a way, almost like a bolster.
Yep.
So I had no problem with that. I thought it kind of helped even the odds out, and I thought it kind of made the uh, that event a little bit more fun because of that mechanic. I agree with you. I agree with you. I didn't have any problem with it myself. I thought it was fun. Even though I didn't really do the event itself, I thought
Mhm.
that aspect of it was a net benefit for sure. I thought it was a net benefit. I enjoyed it for that reason. Um, it's not.
I did ask in your chat, is Cake End the Christmas or winter event, whatever you want to call it?
Yes, it is.
When I tried looking it up, it said something about July, so I wasn't sure if I would just like way
No,
off on that.
as far as I know, no. The again will be the. It actually got posted in Discord here real quick. Hold on, give me a moment.
Oh,
Um,
I keep forgetting I have that Discord somewhere.
give me a second here. Uh, let's see here. Yes.
Hey, Weekend
So
of War.
so so like here goes the actual here. let's see here. I'll put this in my Discord, and actually, I'll just throw this on stream. So this is the actual answer of it right here. So the actual answer on my stream is basically Kegen will return for the round of the year in December, and next January we'll see the cosmetic keep event
That's the
Hex,
big like
which also
keg.
features some of the nice weapon skin cosmetics. So Keg End will be the end of the year in December, so probably around Christmas time.
Okay.
It usually starts right before
Yeah. Have they
Christmas and runs
put
through
any
it.
in saying this event is then? Is there any other information about it?
I don't think that's been announced yet. No,
Oh, okay.
It should start right before Christmas and run through
no.
to almost right the first of the year.
Man, ever since starting streaming, the amount of discords I have has like quadrupled. It's so hard to keep up with all of them now.
I've got
Oh, I don't.
close.
I don't.
I've
I'm
got
not
close
actually
to.
in a lot of
I've got
discords
close to
myself.
30 discords I'm in. Most of them are dev discords, not including
Well, I was in
the
like
other
3,
others.
and now I think
Others.
I'm in like 15.
No, I'm like in 4. I'm in the standard Return of Reckoning Discord. I'm in the Tothmanra Discord. My Discord, and then Fixer's
Oh,
Discord. Really,
on a slightly
that's it.
different note, Hermit, I forgot to ask. Do you
Who's
play?
Fixer? The name sounds familiar.
He's one of
I
the.
think I've
Fixer's
seen
a,
that name in your
He's
chat,
one
Fixer's
of
right?
the
he's
original.
another streamer slash player.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Tibdom, that is Hermit. Hermit is another streamer slash player in the game. So that's Hermit that you hear talking.
Although I have been called a casual player today because I get a lot of 40/40 characters.
Well, okay.
I was called out, maybe not intentionally, but I was called out pretty hard.
I would say casual, non-focused player.
Ugh, just driving it home. I see how it is.
This would be my question. On a person who hits 40/40, how many dungeons have they ran up to that point?
Up to the point of 40/40?
Yeah.
I think I've run. Probably got one sack carry, just for
go.
the XP to go from 17 to 19 because it gets you 2 levels from just running and doing it once.
Okay. So from 17 and 19, you did one dungeon in that aspect. You didn't do any other dungeons.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I usually combo the apprentice scroll with the weekend event scenarios. And depending on how well they go, you can end up anywhere from 33 to like 44 by the time you hit 40. Because sometimes they go good, sometimes they do not go good.
Okay. I've never had a problem with it myself. Although
Like my highest renown person, and I've done a decent amount of RVR, at least what I consider a decent amount of RVR with him. He's only 61. That's my shaman. He's only renowned 61.
And that's your highest?
Yep. It's my highest ever.
And
like
you've been
including
in the game
retail.
for how long?
Across all the characters, I don't know. Is there a way to tell across for the account, or is it just by character in the Tome of Knowledge?
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
Because /time doesn't work anymore.
Correct. So you've been in the game long enough to know that. So
yeah.
Okay, so you're not. So you've been in the game for multiple years.
Oh yeah.
So
I played the retail version and used /time in like the last year in 2013 before the game shut down. I had over like actual playtime of over 3.5 months.
So why do you? I'm not trying to like,
No, that's fine.
Talk down. Why is 61 your highest character? Is it a loss of interest? Is it a don't like the role? Don't like what makes you say, you know what, this isn't for me. I'm going to roll a new tune.
Mostly scenarios going horribly for 2 to 3 days in a row, and I'm like, oh, okay, I need a break from this.
So do you just dump that character, then just play a new character for the next month or month and a half until you don't like the scenarios again? Then you roll a new character. Is that what happens?
Do you want to see my character select screen?
I'm not trying to make. I'm not trying to do. I'm
No,
just
no.
trying to understand.
So
So
scenarios are my favorite, and
okay.
some specs just aren't that fun in RVR, unfortunately, because it definitely feels like melee doesn't seem like it has a big role in sieges unless you're going in a back door, unless it's what is it 2 or 3 stars, in which case it's not even an option, so you're just sort of
Calculator, feel
sitting
free.
hoping something happens.
You have a great day. Feel free.
And Tibdom asked
Oh,
a
see, feel free.
question. And asked a question, Hermit, if you can read it.
So
Like
what?
you can sit there and every 30 seconds you can put siege cracker. What? Actually, I'm on melee DPS right now. What is the name of this? It's the ram buff. For some reason, I can't think
Have a
of
good one,
the
feel
name.
free.
Siege wrecker.
Yeah.
All right, nope, that's the wrong one. That's the debuff.
Sorry, 6 foot. Sorry, I actually used the right name. I actually paid attention. So are you saying like during? Okay, so when sieges happen, are you one of the players that gets bored because you don't find that there's anything for you to do?
A little bit, or I get bored of doing just the same thing over and over in RVR. Like when it's just fighting and like nobody's trying to do objectives or sieges, I find it a little boring.
Okay, I agree.
And when I get bored, I generally the friction points of the game weigh harder on me than maybe they should.
Okay, I understand that.
And then I usually take breaks. Because I've
Okay.
taken I've come back to this game probably 10 times total, and I will play for no less than 2 to 3 months each time. But go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. Tibdom had asked a question about the scenarios. They honestly, Tibdom, until they actually fully implement them, there's no real way to answer that question to see if there's going to be a real improvement.
Oh, I was fully ignoring chat. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Tip.
Until they actually get it implemented and we can test it out. I mean, they've done the test on the test server, but until it actually gets fully implemented and we get to see how people react to it, and see if it's genuinely going to correct for the constant pre-mades versus pugs.
Well, the other thing is we don't know is since they want to push a basically a 2-2-2 before the scenario pops is okay. How long is the wait times going to be at that point, and then what does the population get to say if the wait times are what they say is too long?
Yeah.
Is the player base then going to say, okay, get rid of the 2-2-2 requirement because the wait times are too long? Well, then if you get rid of the 2-2-2 requirement, then what's going to happen is the same thing that happens now. Players are going to complain about pre-mades destroying pugs.
In my personal opinion, when I went back and read do I think the scenarios will improve? Yes. But that's because, on the whole, I think the changes they've made for the server have been largely good. Also, in my opinion, it's better to be optimistic about things because you can be glass half full, glass half empty, or glass full of piss kind of person. And one of those leads you to being really depressed in your life. Or sorry, two of those lead you to being really depressed in your life. So it's better to just try to be positive as much as you can. But I don't know. The dungeon changes have been good. Like there are, don't get me wrong, there are issues with the game. We've even brought them up earlier in this, and that I would like to see changes. But I think, at least in my experience, the game is, in my opinion, the game is currently in a better position than it has ever been in, including when it was live.
Okay.
Like just mechanically, with the stuff is working. Like also the fact that they're pretty open at like letting people know they're working on the game. Like these people don't have to work on the game. They don't, as far as I know, don't really make any money doing this. So they are doing it for the love of for literally the love of the game.
That's
And
true.
I feel like that in itself should tell you that they want what is best for the game. Like if they
Okay.
buff White Lions, we know for a fact they don't love the game at all.
Okay.
Especially those White Lions that can chase you down while you're on a 60% mount for some reason that are 50,000 miles every second they run. I don't get it. From my understanding, that's a bad
Yeah,
tactic,
but
though.
Fist, that wasn't. The problem is that you've got. It's like with the weekend events that come along. It's gotten so bad where you have pre-mades that literally camp the events and they drive out everyone else to where you've got people that can't even get the events done. People that want to get the events done and they can't because they don't have pre-mades of their own. Can't even form one. And I've seen people on both sides that do it that will intentionally get their groups together and they will essentially camp the SCs and shut them down to where people just quit queuing.
Yeah, I think QQer needs to be disabled. Because getting double pre-mades in, like the same double pre-made in every SC is absolutely should not happen.
And it's actually cost the community players. We've lost people that have quit playing because they're just fed up with it. They're like, why play when I'm gonna just get run over to the point I can't make any headway. I mean, they understand what they need to do and they try to do it, but when you're getting basically face pounded into the ground constantly, that doesn't encourage you to want to play. All that does is say, why bother? Go play something else.
I think the biggest thing that could change scenarios, in my opinion, is maybe a reduction in healing. Because I think the biggest demoralizing thing for a losing side is losing with 0 kills. Because you get nothing. You've just wasted 10 to 15 minutes of your life for absolutely nothing. Like, it wasn't necessarily fun because you're getting, like, run over hard. And you don't get any rewards for the scenario. You get your, what? You decided to continue running out of the spawn. And you decided to continue fighting to make sure your damage was higher, so you got 1 crest for being rewarded for, like, top damage or something like that. I think even on the winning side, having players die is, at least you get something. Like, if you lose, as long as you get kills, it doesn't feel that bad. You're like, oh, we lost. Okay, let's go again. But if you lose with 0 kills, you get no renown, nothing.
I don't see
It's
how
harder to
I
continue
don't see
going.
how knocking the healers down even more is a good thing when I see healers get run over as it is. I mean, I play a healer myself. I play 2 of them. And yeah, you can build a strong healer where it's hard for DPS to kill them, but healers can still be overwhelmed.
So it's not so much a healer being overwhelmed. It's when I solo queue into scenarios. Maybe it's a problem with solo queue. And I'm solo queuing, like, solo queue all, not solo queue solo skirmish.
Yeah, which is all I do.
Because the weekend event scenario doesn't work for that.
Correct.
Which maybe that could also be something that's addressed.
It could. That's been suggested a lot in the past, and in fact, it was actually suggested in our chat. I don't know, 5 minutes ago as well.
But reducing the healing, it's not so much that a single healer outputs too much healing. It's that when the enemy team is, no joke, 40 to 50% healers, your chance of getting heals, unless you have a DPS that just decides to wander off on their own away from their entire group, which, granted, does happen sometimes. It doesn't happen all that often. But when you have 5 healers in a 7v7, that's a little hard to overcome.
Okay, that Okay, that's due to the queuing system.
Oh, yeah, like I
why,
think
okay,
there's
that
multiple.
makes, but okay, I get that, but why knock down a healing class due to the queuing system? That makes no sense. That I won't agree with. I could
Oh, that's
under
fine.
I could understand if it was due to the healing class itself, but you're talking about punishing the healers across the board for the queuing system. Fix the queuing system. If you don't allow that many healers to get
If the
into an
queuing system
SC.
is fixed, it like if the queuing system is fixed, it might fix that. But what I'm saying is that basically in game design, there's a big thing of you can't rely on players to tell you the solution, but you can rely on them to tell you where the problem is. So maybe my solution is not a good solution, but the fact that a losing side with 0 kills is the worst possible outcome, and the fact that this outcome happens so often, I think is a major detractor for people playing scenarios.
And I think a lot of people also overlook the fact that uh, if you're in a scenario and let's say there's three healers on your side or against your side. Okay, my question then is also, okay, fine, if you're getting out healed or there's more healers on their side than your side. um I also want to know then, okay, then how many tanks are there? How's the mitigation? How's the tank swapping? Because that plays a huge role. If DPS doesn't understand where the tank is at and what the tank is doing, and they don't pay attention to their buffs in that regard, then that's also on the DPS for not paying attention to what tanks are doing.
Yeah.
Tank mitigation is a huge thing that people don't pay attention to. So my general rule of thumb is that if I'm in a fight with anybody, I don't care if it's a 2-on-V, a 3-on-3 or whatever. If I'm beating on somebody and their health doesn't change, swap targets to the unguarded person. Make that tank work. Make the tank work.
And
Because
the
you're gonna fight.
DPS too.
Yeah, exactly. Or move to the DPS. Get off the person that's being healed and the person that's being guarded. Make the tank work. Now you might have a fight where no one dies because both sides are equally skilled. I have no problem with that. If you go into a scenario and it's a 5v5 and all 10 people are equally geared and equally skilled, and the tanks pay attention, the healers use detaunt, all these things happen. The DPS is actually using heal debuffs in their rotation. People are actually using wounds debuffs. People are actually using debuffs as a whole, and you still can't get a kill. But it's 0 kills to 0. Then I call that's just good play.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's just good play at that
I've
point.
been in fights like that, but that as you've said before, and we've had this conversation in some of your streams before. It depends on how good the group is and if they're paying attention, and if they switch up target. Apply pressure to the proper target, not just funnel focus on
Yeah.
whatever.
And then also people don't, in my opinion, don't assist enough. The DPS don't. I mean, maybe they do in pre-maze because they're in Discord chat or whatever, so they kind of call out targets. But I'll say, like when I'm doing solo scenarios, there's not a lot of assisting that happens. People just choose their own target, and they're probably on a target that could very well be being guarded, and they just don't notice it. So I think that plays a big role. So I'm not going to blame just healing, because mitigation of tanks is a large aspect of mitigating damage.
Oh yeah.
Large
It
aspect of it.
definitely is.
And if people don't realize that or notice that, then that's on them. I'm not going to try to punish a healer because he's able to stand there and get healed, because some engineer is just shooting the guarded person. Switch it up. Pay attention to it.
Oh yeah.
Now if we just want to have a game where it's just all DPS rules and mitigation and healing doesn't rule, okay, then fine. Then I guess we can have that game too. But then we're gonna have a game of nothing but everyone playing DPS classes. Then we're gonna have a game of like no healers, no tanks at all. Just everyone goes after everyone as DPS. Then it's gonna become a game of okay, who has more defensive abilities? Who's gonna have more regen, passive regen, built into them? Then you're gonna have a game like that, which is kind of what we have now in a way.
Yeah, I do think regen is maybe a bit much at the moment.
And that's something we've talked about before. Honestly, I think, especially with the Wii's and some other classes, the the regen needs to be wiped out. I think it's ridiculous that a DPS class, especially like a Wii, has so much regen, and I've seen upwards 2 to 3 people beating on a Wii and they can't touch them.
It's not just
Because right
regen;
right now
it's
I'm
the
on a
absorb as well.
Choppa, and I went full regen just for funds, and I'm solo grinding a public quest just for butchery stuff. But I'm sitting here with my spicy troll mushroom, my grim shimmer tough chest, 2 pain links of the flesh render, and sitting on longer and stronger. That just adds more regen, and then I can even put renown points into regen. It's a bit much.
I
Like
don't agree.
I essentially I'm getting like a not great healer's worth of healer
Yeah,
just with my gear.
I just
Well,
don't
the
agree with it because to me it's anymore. It's like when I run into a Wii, I'm like, there's not even a point for me to try to fight them because I can't kill them.
the other thing about regen is that it doesn't get affected by any type of health debuffs. So
Yeah.
it completely ignores any type of health debuff. So if somebody is running, let's say, a 500 HP every 4 seconds, it's almost kind of like running around with a permanent hot pot running on you permanently. A hot pot that'll do like 364 hit points every 4 seconds on a hot pot. Just imagine if everybody ran around with a hot pot nonstop. That's what a regen can be like. So it's just that the fact that it doesn't get debuffed by anything when it comes to slowing down the regen in a passive mindset. Then you get classes that'll have, let's say, 500 regen by default. Then they also get an absorb shield. Then they can also get their own hots on top of that. So then you have somebody who's possibly running 500 regen every 4 seconds, then throws on 2 hot pots on top of that. Well, now they're doing what, 800, 900 HP every 4 seconds for for half of that time frame, for like what, for like 15, 20 seconds, they're going to have that. Then the other half, they're going to go back to 500. It's insane.
Yeah, it just to me, I don't agree with any stealth class having a regen build. I mean,
Well, I don't agree with any DPS class having a regen build.
the other thing that irritates me with Wii's, and I despise this, I do not agree with it, is them being in the middle of a fight and being able to basically stealth and walk away and then re-engage in combat and nothing can knock them out of that.
Well,
I
I mean,
think dots should pull them out of stealth.
That
yeah.
that I agree with because if you're fighting a person, you should not be able to just drop, hit stealth, walk away, and then re-engage so that you can basically cheat and heal yourself up. That other person, meantime, might can hit a pot if they hadn't already hit it, but other than that, they've just they're SOL, and you can basically do whatever.
I could understand maybe like a disengage, like how they have the what are they? The Shadow Warriors get the like a self knockback. If
Whirling pin.
like what?
It's called a whirling pin.
Oh, okay. I'm unfamiliar. I haven't played a Shadow Warrior in a really long time. But something like that, if they had that and that had like a 2 second stealth attached to it to give them like a gap opener, I could understand that, but not like, okay, you can remain stealth as long as you have stamina.
Yeah, I just,
That seems a bit
yeah,
much.
to me, it aggravates me to no end because there's been times where I've died, I've seen others die, where we will just walk off in the middle of combat, completely heal back up, or I guess it reset get their spells ready to reset or whatnot, and then come back and essentially cook off an attack and get a crit and instantly kill the person that they were just fighting. And I'm like, that aggravates me to no end. To me, that's cheap, and I mean, I know it's a mechanic of the class, but to me, it feels like they're cheating the system. I'm like, in a dead straight up fight, you should not be able to do that.
So I do have a question. I hear a lot of complaint about the witch elves. I used to see witch hunters build a defensive like regen similar. Why
Same
is that not a
thing.
thing anymore?
I don't like them doing it either. What I
No,
don't.
I know, but I just don't see them anymore. I don't see the defensive witch hunters anymore. Did they get nerfed or something?
Far as I know, the big difference between the defensive weeds and the defensive witch hunters is I don't believe that the defensive witch hunters. I don't think I could be wrong with this. This could be wrong, but I don't believe they get access to the bubble like witch elves do. I don't think. So that's actually a big aspect to it is the bubble that a witch elf gets access to. Um, they can do the defensive regen, but they don't get the bubble aspect. I don't believe, and that's a big aspect of why you don't see them nearly as much. But you do see them. I mean, there's defensive white lions that run around as well on the game too, that will they get the defensive white lions. Now, as
Mhm.
Fisk says, they do get the parry. So defensive witch hunters get the parry aspect, so they can get a far higher melee parry chance against Wheeze. That's still in the game, and people can still do that, where they can basically build up they can do what's it called, repel blasphemy, and then they can then drop an M1 parry, so they get something like 15 seconds or whatever of parry. However, that also doesn't really get applied to classes like Chosens that can bypass parry. So
Mhm.
that's a big aspect to it as
Or
well.
Disciples of Cain? Yeah, who
Yeah.
they're
So
was it the shield doc has the unparryable or
yeah.
undefendable
Yeah.
that
So
heals?
yeah. So there is an aspect where that build just doesn't is not as effective as what a witch elf can do. I believe that's the understand, and also I want to say that the witch elf has the benefit of how the kiss procs works compared to how the witch hunter, um, I guess, mechanic works is different. I believe as well. I want to say how that is also different.
Okay, I've never gotten either of those classes above like level 18, so I wasn't really sure.
Yeah, I believe those are the two big differences.
Guys, we've been going for what, almost 3 hours now, give or take.
Yeah, I'm at
Okay.
256 on my stream, so yeah, I
Yeah,
started
Yeah.
right before.
right at 3 hours.
Yeah. So Fiskett said that the Wii is a proc and the Witch Hunter is basically a finisher. So that's the big difference there is that the Wii can have the proc as they fight, where the Witch Hunter has a finisher. So they're I guess technically the Witch Hunter is stronger the longer the fight goes on. Maybe I don't know, but the Wii has more of a I guess flows better during the
Okay.
fight.
Also, who do I talk to about getting Path of Degreen on Shaman a little bit of love?
Shamans get love.
No, that's why I need to talk to somebody about it.
Not really anybody you can talk to. You can make a suggestion of an idea and it can get passed up the chain. That don't mean it's going to get listened to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you
Also,
ask for shaman love. I'll just demand that gets blocked and banned.
what?
Why do
Shaman
shamans
love.
need love?
Shaman love is how I get the gold sent to me.
Shamans don't need
I
any
mean,
more
what?
love. It's already sickening when I run across a shaman that's healing and then he turns around and starts dotting me up and I die to him.
Yeah, I don't think shamans need any love. If we want to
No,
have an
I
honest,
mean specifically their life tap spells. They don't flow correctly when you try to actually play it as like its own standalone spec. It
do you
doesn't
mean?
like flow correctly.
What
These
do you mean?
skills. So I would have to switch over to my shaman. I think it's, or actually, let me open the calculator so I could actually say the correct names. Career shaman. So
Well,
Fury of
pet
Degreen.
pathing's always been a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
So the life tap of Bleed for me feels perfectly fine. Has a 10-second cooldown, but it has a 24-second duration, so you
Mhm.
don't even need to re-up it. You need to re-up it like once every cooldown, or once
Mhm.
every other cooldown, essentially, to
Mhm.
get the most out of it.
Mhm.
Don't feel nothing. There's a which is their barrier, their absorb shield. Lasts for 9 seconds, 20-second cooldown. You can get a tactic for it that increases the damage of your don't feel nothings. Like whoever has it on them gets 15% more damage for 5 seconds after the barrier fades. Even if the barrier is up for the entire time, meaning the target didn't take damage, it still has a 6-second downtime? Yeah, it still has a 6-second downtime. So that feels a little off, because if they had it last for 11 seconds after the barrier went down, it means if the barrier lasted the entire time, you could keep the damage buff up, which would feel better. But it's a barrier, so as soon as the barrier goes down, you are essentially ticking down on how long the damage buff is up. And then Furia de Green, it's a 1.5-second cast, but it has a 5-second cooldown. That one would feel a little bit better if it reduced the cooldown on it by half, but maybe reduced the output of it by half. Those are just general thoughts I had on it, because the other stuff feels generally okay, but the tactic for Nothing But Dawag, which is the one that affects Don't Feel Nothing, which is the barrier buff, it seems like it doesn't quite fit into being useful over other options. If you want to go, because I personally enjoy doing Fury of Degreen or Path of Degreen over pure healing, because it feels like there's more interaction, more going on, like more to do other than sitting and hitting gather round, gather round, gather round. Which, granted, just spamming gather round isn't optimal, but it gets you like 80-85% to being optimal, unfortunately, if you're being a pure healer.
So I'm trying to get to what are you asking for then?
It seems like the Path of Degreen stuff just needs a little bit of tweaking, because it doesn't seem like it works as its own spec, essentially. It seems like this spec is great if you're not using it as its own spec, you're only cannibalizing it for other stuff. Does that make sense?
No.
It Fury of Degreen is their like life tap support spec, because you got
Mhm.
Path of Mork, which is their healer, Path of
Mhm.
Gork, which is their damage, and then Path of Degreen, which is
Mhm.
their life tap general support. So like a little bit of heals, a little bit of damage, but more support. It seems like it doesn't really stand on its own. It only works when you piecemeal it into either Path of Gork or Path of Mork stuff. Does that make sense?
I mean, it makes sense in the sense of what you're saying, but I think you're asking for everything and it have no downsides.
I'm just saying it feels like it could use some attention. Like, this is super low priority stuff, but it feels like it doesn't. You can't just play its spec. There is no sort of through line for it being its own spec, is what I'm saying. Whereas Path of Gork, you can go just that tree, and it makes sense. You have a full rotation of what you can do. If you go Path of Mork, there's a full rotation. all the tactics generally play into that. Where Path of the Green, if you take all of it, it's sort of all over the place. It doesn't really, the stuff doesn't lead into each other so much. Does that make sense? Maybe I'm not explaining it very well.
I think you're explaining it well. It's just I think you're talking about what every class has to deal with, which is they have some things that just don't last the entire time, and they
Mhm.
have to basically deal with the downsides of their spec of their build.
So go check
I think
Charles
that
out.
is typical of every class.
No. I'm not saying there wouldn't be downsides, even if they changed what I was suggesting. I'm just saying that you could actually play it as its own spec instead of it being supplemental to either Path of Mork or Path of Gork. Because if you go Path of Degreen at the moment, you can't really. Because
I mean, okay, so this is kind of like me saying, well, I wish Two-Handed Slayer also had an AoE build, because I
Mhm.
just wish, I just think it'd be fairer if I could have a Two-Handed Slayer but also do AoE. Since
Well,
since
no. Well, what
since
I'm saying, so in that it's more Two-Handed Slayer has a role of they are the big hits that are like your builders, right? I'm only going off of what I know about Champa, so I don't actually know the 1-to-1.
Green Pop wants to know, my Feedy and Destro? No, just don't give a shit about dying. Go ahead.
Oh. Uh, so, but Two-Hander has a place. It has a like maybe it's not what you want from Two-Hander, but it has a role within the like Slayer class.
It
Whereas
has
it
it
feels
has
like,
it has no role in warband play.
well, yeah, people say that about Two-Hand because it's single target, right? That's how
Correct.
Choppas are. Choppas are single target. Okay, or the Two-Hand Choppa is focused as single target. They're absolutely goated in dungeons, by the way. A two-handed Choppa is crazy in like dungeons. They pump some insane numbers. But I'm saying Path of the Green doesn't have its own thing. It only sort of works when you piecemeal it out to the other two specs.
I just think that honestly that you're complaining about something that all classes have to deal with, just on a much different aspect.
Okay.
That's just uh, I just it's just kind of how I feel it when it comes to shaman. I think they have everything, and the things that they don't have, no class either has or no one has it. The access to either heals and damage at the same time. Almost no class can do that. Almost no class can have the sustain and self preservation that outside of shaman. No class has that. No class outside of AM has the long durations, short downsides of dots that are almost uncleansable by 90% of the population on the server outside of healers themselves. And even then, they can't heal all the dots. So I don't feel anything for shamans because I think they have everything already. And
Okay.
just because they have some downsides or some things that are on cooldown, everybody has that. Everybody has cooldown effects. Everybody has to wait on abilities that they either can't stack all the time or permanently. Um,
Hmm.
I just think it's an aspect to it. Um, if you use ability A and it's on cooldown for 30 seconds, then you better use ability A when it matters. Don't just use ability A whenever you want to, because in 10 seconds it's going to be available for you again. I, I, I every class has to deal with that. Um, so I don't have any feeling that shamans need any extra help when it comes to healing or damage or hybrid builds or anything. I think they have everything.
Well, what I'm
Um,
saying is this would add them a actual third spec because nobody plays Path of the Green because it does not even remotely compare to the other two because does not have a through line to where you can play it by itself. It is only ever supplemental to a full healer or supplemental to a full damage dealer.
Correct, Bevan. You're correct. AMs can cleanse Shaman, but Shamans can't cleanse AMs. Correct.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Bevan asked that an AM can cleanse Shaman's dots, but a Shaman cannot cleanse AM's dots.
AMs cleanse Shaman duos, but not the other way around.
Correct.
Wait, what? Oh, is that because of how they broke up how cleansing works between the three healers or the factions?
It's just how they work on how AM dots are applied to versus how something else. I don't know why it's that way, but yes, AM dots cannot be cleansed by Shamans, but Shamans can be cleansed by AMs. Why is it that way? I
Oh,
don't know.
it's probably because of the healer thing. Because I know we ran into that
Zealots
dungeon.
maybe Zealots can. I don't know. Maybe a
Yeah,
Zealot can
I'm
cleanse
thinking it's
it,
probably
but
that.
I think it goes more along the lines of they're hoping that the group composition of players being mixed groups will all in the end work itself out and make it all even. It's also the same reason as why does the Choppa have a wounds tactic but a Slayer doesn't? Or why does a class B or A have this but class C or B doesn't? When they're their mirror class, it's just how it works out. Because I think in the end they're hoping that people are going to play in a group and it's all just going to even out and make sense. That's why. Because the game is not meant to be played by solo individuals just wanting to solo run over everybody. It's not meant to be played that way.
I can understand that, but I feel like maybe the cleanses should be exempt from that philosophy when it comes to specifically cleanses.
It's also why they got rid of Cleansing Winds. I think it was called Cleansing Winds as a renown ability, which allowed all players to cleanse dots from any player. Then they got rid of that renown ability. I believe it was called Cleansing Winds. So we got a 4-man order group here in the scenario versus a 7-man on Destro. So this is a 4v7.
When I asked for healings, I wanted specifically in scenarios healing output to be reduced.
Alright, gang. I think I'm going to start winding it down since we've been going over 3 hours. And I do have
Okay.
some other things that I'm obligated to do today. We've covered a pretty good amount of stuff. Had some fairly interesting conversations from all corners, I believe, or at least would like to believe. Heard from Hermit. Hope to see you on some more shows. You're always welcome. Doors always open to anybody and everybody. Definitely heard some comments from all across the community. From Fisk, from Bevan, 6 Foot, quite a few Tibdom, quite a few people. Chat's been rather full. It's always good to see everybody voicing opinions. But before we officially close it down, does anybody have any kind of closing statements? Anything they want to add to the table before we call it? Yay, nay?
Yeah, I don't really have anything else. We've talked about most everything I've complained about over the last month.
Oh, I got nothing really to add, really.
How about you guys in chat? I know there's quite a few people listening over in Tasha's chat. Now, keep in mind, guys, this is the last podcast of 2025. The next one will not be until after. It will not be at least until after like January the 6th. It won't be until at least middle of the month because generally